Immortal Cultivation with the chip. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176. Let me do it. The clothes worn by the uninvited guests were close-fitting shorts with a strong martial arts style. The identity of the Wu people was confirmed. Above everyone's head, there was a dragon key talisman used to conceal their breath and their figures. However, under the dying glow of the boundary monument, the dragon key inside this pale yellow parchment was dispersed, and the talisman itself was torn into powder, and it could no longer maintain its concealment effect, exposing the group of Wu martial arts masters who sneaked into the Nanman King's court. The boundary monument, at the cost of its own death, created a fighting environment for Chen Mo without the interference of Dragon Key. This wonderful weakening killing move hit the soft spot of the Wu people. Without the Dragon Key to limit the key essence and suppress the spiritual energy, how can a group of mortals fight Chen Mo, who has practiced key at the 9th level? How dare you bully my court like this, you thieves? The old priest, who was still kneeling on the ground to welcome the boundary monument, looked up and glared at the 9 Wu people who were coming towards him and treated the Nanman court as nothing. His gray hair fluttered in anger, like an old lion king in a rage. However, in order to awaken the boundary monument, which was half of his mentor, the old priest had already injected all his energy into the blood coagulation beads. At this critical moment, he didn't even have the strength to stand up and fight to the death. He could only fall to the ground, his face full of resentment, wishing to avenge the boundary monument master. The old Nanman King and Zhao King also knew that the tri-boundary monument was injured and dying, but they never thought that the thieves of Wu country would be so rampant that they would sneak into the heart of the royal court and give the seriously injured boundary monument another blow. Swish, a whistling arrow shot a gorgeous wolfsbane flower into the dark night sky. The 7-petal wolf-tooth-shaped flower slowly expanded and swayed in the wind in the night sky, but their bright red background foreshadowed a crisis that could shake the foundation of the Nanman King's court. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of heavily armed soldiers hastily getting up and marching quickly rang out from every corner of the king's court, and teams of people and horses gathered in the center of the king's court like a tide. However, the hidden pieces that the Wu people had arranged long ago also started with a whistling arrow for warning and help. The smell of kerosene filled the air, a raging fire started, and smoke filled the air. Various forms of riots appeared in every corner of the Nanman King's court, representing the Wu people who were lurking here as merchants and with false identities, waiting for an opportunity to move. The night became the best accomplice of this group of bandits and thieves. The reinforcements that gathered to the hinterland of the royal court were hindered by various small tricks that could not be put on the table, which slowed down the speed of the rescue. A small-scale riot did not buy much time in the face of hundreds of thousands of troops guarding the royal court. But for the Wu masters who wanted to kill the boundary monument and seize its remains, even if it was only half an incense stick of time, it was enough. Since the resting place of the boundary monument was a forbidden area of the royal court, there were not many guards guarding it. Most of them were withdrawn because of the dinner to welcome Chen Anan today, the placement and monitoring of the powerful blood wolf guards. So when the Zhuo Xianwang sent out a signal for help, the guards who rushed over hurriedly were killed by the Wu masters who were responsible for clearing the area at the outermost periphery before they showed up. The Wu people who were carrying out the decapitation plan surrounded them in a Chinese character. There were not many of them, only 9, but each of them had the martial arts realm of the 9th grade Xianmen. Even though they had lost the dragon energy, they were confident that a few disciples of the boundary monument could not protect the remains of their master. The fighting power of the old priest and the old Nanman King could be ignored at this time. With only Zhuo Xianwang, there was no chance to hinder their progress. Mr. Chen, please take the king away for Kikaiji's sake. I will do my best to hold them back, even if it can only buy you 3 more breaths of time. Zhuo Xianwang's burly body shook slightly, blocking Chen Mo and the old Nanman King. On his body, the aura lingered and soared into the sky, forming a black bear phantom, which was even stained with a layer of bright red blood. Obviously, he had activated the secret technique of damaging the origin of the body, and he was determined to die. Old buddy, although the master has never formally accepted me as a disciple, I have to repay the kindness of being a guide on the immortal path. Let me accompany you to complete this last journey. The old priest finally stood up tremblingly, leaning on the Nanmu stick with difficulty, and stood side by side with Zhuo Xianwang. His old, wrinkled right hand was weakly placed on Zhuo Xianwang's shoulder, and a stream of intermittent spiritual water came out from it. A trace of blood flowed out of the old priest's mouth and nose. His face, which was already old like an octogenarian, shrank and lost color at a speed visible to the naked eye. It seemed that his lifespan was about to run out and he would take his last breath. But his efforts finally won a reward. Zhuo Xianwang was covered with a layer of light green light film covered with sharp barbs, which was obviously a single wood attribute body protection technique. For close combat warriors, this is a real killer move that is more real than any blood-burning secret technique. Hey, pause for a moment. Didn't you hear Jiboi's praise and pleading for me before he died? Just 9 small fry from the Wu Kingdom, you want me to retreat? Chen Mo slapped his forehead and sighed. He was really worried about this group of inexperienced bigwigs in the Nanman King's court. 9 ninth-grade warriors were afraid before the battle? Didn't they analyze from Jiboi's last words that they had surpassed Jiboi's key training? 5 fingers tapped and landed on several hidden acupoints on the backs of Zhuo Xianwang and the old priest, cutting off the blood, internal breath and qi yuan that had just surged in their bodies, preventing them from exhausting the source of life and dying. This set of precise striking finger techniques cut the momentum that had just risen in the 2 people in half. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Once their spirits were released, they lost their determination to be invincible and were pulled back by Chen Mo from the road of overdrawing their bodies and being reduced to ashes. Old priest, it's a pity that you acted too fast. The life lost by overdrawing your qi yuan to perform magic can't be made up. After I deal with these 9 small fry, let your disciples and descendants prepare your funeral. Chen Mo was pragmatic and bluntly pointed out that the old priest would not live long, which made Zhuo Xianwang and the old Nanman Wang sad for their old friend's impending death. Chen Mo, who intervened, finally made the 3 big men of the royal court wake up. The situation has not collapsed to the point where Zhuo Xianwang and the old priest need to fight to the death. Chen Mo can do it, he can fight back. The old Nanman king could not hide his expectation, and earnestly told Chen Mo, please delay for a moment, the imperial army will arrive within half an incense stick, and no matter how strong they are, they will die in the midst of thousands of troops. The army trained by Zhuo Xianwang naturally learned the military formation to surround and kill martial arts masters. On weekdays, he also personally went to teach and demonstrate, so the old Nanman king, who knew this capable assistant well, firmly believed that as long as the royal court army arrived, they could turn defeat into victory and avenge their previous shame. In order to avenge the boundary monument that protected the Nanman royal court for 100 years, the old Nanman king was willing to die even if more of his people died. If numbers are useful, what is the use of martial arts masters? The 9 Wuguo masters who kept approaching said in unison with disdain. As they ran, they formed groups of 3, maintaining the positions of the 3 elements of heaven, earth and man, and then formed a slightly larger character. The powerful energy flowed among the 9 people in turn, and the energy was connected, and finally injected into a strong man at the arrow cluster position of the formation. Chapter 177, The Back End of the Boundary Monument. The leader, with a skin of steel and bones, wore only a single piece of clothing. With the infusion of his companion's qi and blood, his body height increased by 30%. Small moving balls shaped like mice bulged out of his muscles, which was extremely terrifying. Obviously, his meridians had reached saturation, as if the next second, the strong alien qi would burst out of his body. Ha! With a sharp whistle, the leader rushed out like an inflatable fish bladder with broken skin. The whole person shrank and shrank by 3 circles. But he spit out a sword-shaped qi flow from his mouth and stomach that was the same shape and texture as a physical sword. This was a real breath to kill people, unlike the breath of an 8th grade condensed qi warrior, which could not penetrate silk paper after 100 steps. The highly condensed internal breath, after leaving the body, formed an indestructible martial arts qi. Under the urging of the master's martial arts will, it gathers but does not disperse. Even without the amplitude of spiritual weapons, it can fly a sword from 100 steps away and break gold and jade. Gathering the power of the 9 ninth grade Shineman fellows, the Wu country's leader used this trick of killing with breath, which was as effective as the single gold attribute magic of ordinary high-level Kigan practitioners. The extreme of martial arts is close to Tao. Just based on this amazing attack, the 9 people of Wuguo who are connected in mind can have a success rate of more than 79%, even if they pretend to be high-level Kigan practitioners. Ling. Out-of-body ki, energy level 10, headlong resistance has a 23% chance of minor injuries. It is recommended that the host temporarily avoid the edge. The scientific judgment of the chip also proves, martial arts, practiced to the extreme, can also be on par with high-level Kigen practitioners. Without the dragon energy to seal the sea of ki, the ki in Chen Mo's body circulated rapidly, gushing out from thousands of tiny pores all over his body, instantly forming a dense protective film, but he did not follow the chip's optimal defense plan. If there were not 3 relatives of the Nanman King's court dragging him down, Chen Mo would not have to resist at all. With just a light body technique, he could quickly retreat and escape the attack range of this ki. Lin Bingdao's line up behind, break. Except for the person at the front of the Chinese character, the remaining 8 people, when the exhaling flying sword shot at Chen Mo, spontaneously put down their arms on their companions' shoulders, hammered their chests, and each of them sprayed out a cloud of crimson blood mist. The hazy blood light, along with their loud trumpets, turned into a large net and covered Chen Mo. The speed was so fast that even the ki flying sword condensed by the leader with the power of everyone could not catch up. No matter how fast a ki breaks through the air, how can it compare to the speed of sound or even the spread of martial arts will? The 8 blood mists that came later arrived first, dragged behind the strong martial arts will of the Wu people, and first rushed to Zhuo Xianwang, who was blocking Chen Mo. Ugh, Zhuo Xianwang had a splitting headache, and subconsciously hugged his head with both hands, wishing he could crush it alive. The black bear blood shadow behind him was even worse. It was just hit by the enemy's martial arts will, and it disintegrated like smoke and disappeared with the wind. The ki and blood that made up the black bear rolled back to Zhuo Xianwang like a tide, causing him to groan and suffer internal injuries. The 8 people on the opposite side were all at the same level as him. There might be slight differences in their specific combat power, but their divine essence values were almost at the same level. The 8 people worked together and naturally broke Zhuo Xianwang's black bear martial arts will, causing him to lose his mind and become dazed, temporarily becoming a salted fish that could be slaughtered at will. There are too few ways for warriors to breed divine essence. Most people still rely on the natural growth of their souls day by day after reaching the 8th level of the soul-enriching realm. Therefore, the divine essences of warriors of the same level in their prime years do not have an absolute gap in quantity. In the battle of martial arts will, as long as the situation of outnumbering is formed, the side with fewer people will lose without any suspense. The fate of Zhuo Xianwang is the best interpretation of the concept of number is king. If it were not for protecting the weak old Nanman King, with Zhuo Xianwang's ability, he would have been able to avoid it in advance. The Wu people saw this weakness of his and unscrupulously used this conspiracy to win purely by the amount of divine essence. The torrent of martial arts will that came to his face, after dispersing Zhuo Xianwang's black bear phantom, still did not reduce its momentum and hit Chen Mo's head. With a sniff of the nose, he smelled a faint smell of blood, and then a burning sensation surged to the sea of consciousness. A grain of light dares to compete with a bright moon. Chen Mo sneered, his mouth corners raised, and a sense of arrogance arose spontaneously. With his 6.6 divine essence alone, he could crush the average divine essence value of 5.0 of the enemies from Wuguo. In addition, the offensive at the soul level, which manifested as the impact of martial arts will, was not like the Genki, which could be simply gathered into one and exert the effect of quantitative change leading to qualitative change. The soul power from different people with different characteristics was condensed into one, and blasted out like a clenched fist. Even high-level Kigen practitioners could not do such a delicate operation. Unless the people participating in the joint attack were completely desperate, emptied their minds, and let the soul power of others, wrapped in their own intelligence, attack the opponent. Therefore, the sea of consciousness barrier formed by Chen Mo's consciousness simply stood there, blocking wave after wave of martial arts will impacts, a total of 8 waves. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. His sea of consciousness was like a 10,000-year-old rock in the stormy waves, unmoved from eternity. Even though the 8 Wu people saw that their martial arts wills rushed towards Chen Mo almost at the same time, for the one thought for 10,000 years soul realm, the order in which they attacked Chen Mo's sea of consciousness was clearly visible. The interval was large enough for Chen Mo to deal with it in an orderly manner. Therefore, before the first martial arts will broke a gap in Chen Mo's consciousness barrier, the new divine essence that surged from his sea of consciousness immediately replenished the consumption of the consciousness barrier, and there was even plenty of time to leisurely wait for the impact of the second wave of martial arts wills. The spiritual attack of the 8 Wu people was like a drop in the ocean, and even the slightest fluctuation in Chen Mo's eyes could not be affected, so that he completed a range of earth magic in front of everyone. Thousands of pounds, Chen Mo pressed down with his right hand, and the air in front of him seemed to be pressed down by a heavy burden of thousands of pounds, and actually appeared transparent wrinkles and arc-shaped ripples, extending all the way, spreading to the body of the Wu strongman. Squeak! Even with the iron bones of high-level warriors, under this gravity that exceeded the limit of the flesh, they also made a tooth-grinding friction sound. This was the whine of their bones, meridians, blood, and soft tissues, which were deformed and twisted under high pressure. The forward momentum stopped abruptly, and the pin battle formation collapsed without attack. The 9 Wu people could only stop and gasp to adjust their breathing, in order to quickly adapt to the harsh conditions of action like backing a mountain. Yellow dots of light floated up from the powder and dust left behind by the boundary monument, flickering in the dark night. The boundary monument's dying blow was indeed not as simple as tearing up a dragon key talisman. It also buried such a rich earth spirit as a backup. This is due to the almost invisible rich earth spirit factor of the subcontinent, which is highly aggregated in a limited space, forming such a gorgeous and exquisite sight. With such excellent casting conditions, even if Chen Mo has washed away all the hidden earth spirit veins on his body, he can easily cast a small-scale low-level spell that increases weight to restrict the opponent's actions. Chapter 178 First Blood. In front of Chen Mo, the model of the 1,000-pound art reappeared, like a whirlpool, continuously swallowing up the gift of the boundary monument. Where the boundary monument originally stood, dense earth spirit light spots emerged, rushing towards Chen Mo. The materialized spirit light ball completely wrapped his right hand. As Chen Mo pressed his right hand down and squeezed it inward, yellow light instantly bloomed and shot towards the Wu people, making the power of 1,000-pound art stronger by 30%. The yellow halo on the body of the Wu people deepened by 3 points, and they felt their shoulders sink. The warrior's pride that would rather break than bend was bent by the sudden increase in the burden. They wanted to fight Chen Mo in close combat, but they were unable to do so and had difficulty taking a step. Trapped in the quagmire, they could only hope that the Genki flying sword released by the leader earlier could behead Chen Mo with one sword. The speed of the warrior's killing with his breath was ultimately slower than Chen Mo's instantaneous 1,000-pound art. The 100-step flying sword was still 10 feet away from Chen Mo at this time. But the cold light of the sword's tip had already blown up the corner of Chen Mo's clothes. This scene seemed to indicate that Chen Mo forgot to use the body protection technique, and the light of hope in the eyes of the Wu people shone brighter and brighter. These Wu martial arts masters have always believed that my life is in my own hands, not in the hands of God, and they have won great military exploits with a pair of iron fists. However, under the suppression of 1,000-pound art, they actually pinned their hopes on a Genki flying sword that had long been out of their hands and whose power was unknown. It is also sad and lamentable. Chen Mo pushed forward with his left hand, and rudely pushed away the ignorant Zhuo Xianwang who was blocking him, and said coldly, "You can't stop this flying sword of Genki that has almost reached the limit of the magic of the key training period. Let me do it." In addition to practicing key training, Chen Mo also made great achievements in physical training. He was confident that even if he took all the martial arts magic of level 10.0, he would not be able to kill himself. According to the calculation of the chip, the energy level of the power of the magic is almost the same as the Qi Yuan. Without external objects to increase or weaken it, no matter what level of cultivation, you can only cast magic that does not exceed the total amount of your own Qi Yuan, whether it is a single attack magic or a group range magic. For example, without the influence of any talisman, elixir, formation, or special casting means, a high-level key training practitioner with a Qi Yuan of 9.3 at the 9th level of key training can only release magic with an energy level of 9.3. The 9 Wu people worked together to perform the flying sword of the Genki, which had reached an energy level of 10.0, comparable to the magic released by the practitioners of the 10th level of key training. It was not bad. If ordinary disciples of the inner sect of the Blood Robe sect encountered it, they would not be 100% sure to resist it. Unfortunately, they encountered Chen Mo. The shroud was stimulated by the Genki and fluttered in the wind. The cloth turned into an indestructible shield in front of Chen Mo, releasing the sharp fighting evil and the frost-covered ice evil. The evil spirit took shape, and a series of sharp arrows rushed towards the Genki flying sword. Crackle like the rain hiding the banana leaves on a jade night in midsummer, The crisp sound of the collision between the two was pleasant to the ears, and even made people forget the terrifying killing intent contained in it. The Genki flying sword was still as powerful as ever, but the light contained in its body was much dimmer. As for the war evil and ice evil that caused all this, they were torn apart by the sharp energy of the Genki flying sword when they collided, turning into wisps of scattered water mist, filling the void in front of Chen Mo. If he wanted to restore them to their original state, Chen Mo had to manipulate the shroud to absorb them one by one, but on the battlefield, he no longer had the time to calmly clean up all this. In this way, the only thing standing in front of the Genki flying sword was the net formed by the shroud. One after another, blood-red cloth flew and entangled the Genki flying sword that was emitting a hazy halo. The sharp whipping sound made its body tremble constantly, and fine cracks appeared on the sword body. Round after round of violent whipping made the Genki flying sword unable to hold on any longer. With a bang, the entire sword body was torn into pieces, but the Genki contained in it was scattered but not chaotic, and there was still enough energy to shoot towards Chen Mo. For a moment, his sight was filled with dazzling sword beams. If it were an ordinary person, he would inevitably be dazzled and close his eyes to wait for death. There was an old barbarian king behind him. Chen Mo was reluctant to let his newly married sister-in-law lose her father and cause unrest in his brother's family. Therefore, he had no choice but to step forward and live towards death. Chen Mo took a step forward with his left leg, and his body was like a long bow stretched to full moon, forming a standard horse stance. He exerted force from his waist, aimed at the oncoming Genki flying sword, and punched with his right hand. The muscles of his forearms bulged and were full of explosive power. From a distance, Chen Mo's right arm was a sharp arrow shot from a longbow. There was no fancy tricks or no 4 ounces to move 1,000 pounds. To deal with this kind of piercing Genki, the only way was to use the form of needle tip against wheat spikes to defeat the opponent head-on. The piercing pain came from the right fist and spread to Chen Mo's entire right hand. At the same time, drops of blood also flowed down along the right arm that stretched upwards, all the way to Chen Mo's armpit, and then gathered into a more round blood bead, and fell to the ground with a click. This was the first time Chen Mo was injured since he set foot on the subcontinent, and it was just a group of mortals who caused all this. Although the right hand that collided head-on with the scattered Genki only had the epidermis worn out and the subcutaneous tendons and bones slightly injured, although a lot of blood was lost, it only looked scary. With Chen Mo's recovery ability, he could recover as before in 2 hours. But this minor injury is a great shame for a demon sect disciple with a 9th level of key training. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. A great shame. Humiliation! Exclamation mark. After being injured, Chen Mo was furious, but as a disciple of the demon sect, he remained calm. His angular face was as cold and calm as ever, except for the corner of his mouth, which showed a smile. He whispered to the Genki flying sword that it was interesting. He's injured. Hurry up, kill him at close range. The Wu people, who were struggling to move, suddenly realized that they had become as light as a swallow. They guessed that the scattered sword light of the Genki flying sword had interrupted Chen Mo's 1,000-pound art, and immediately shouted excitedly and rushed towards him. The most excited one even lost his balance in an instant due to the sudden relief of the pressure on his shoulders and the speed of rushing forward. He staggered and fell to the ground with all 4 limbs, a typical dog chewing mud. But in order to kill Chen Mo, he even disregarded the dignity of being a creature that walks upright on 2 legs. He supported himself on the ground with both hands and started forward without any delay. With the help of this fierce fall, he actually increased his speed by 20%. Chapter 179 Evil Spirit Trap. High-level warriors have good control over their bodies. Even on all fours, this faceless Wu country warrior can maintain a delicate balance, running wildly on all fours, approaching Chen Mo at high speed like a hyena. Under his leadership, the remaining Wu country masters also excitedly rushed towards Chen Mo. Obviously, they also understood the weakness of Kigen practitioners in close combat. They were confident that as long as they got close, Chen Mo would not be able to use even the lowest level magic in a hurry, and would be killed by their random punches. Do you really think that the 1,000-pound art was interrupted by your Genki flying sword? Naive. 9 ninth-grade warriors of different sizes but with the same excitement on their faces got closer and closer to Chen Mo. The strong martial arts will that came to his face even blew the shroud wrapped around him. But Chen Mo's face remained unchanged, and he said a comment with disdain that made the Wu country people change their faces. The curve of his mouth became more and more obvious, and the disdain and ridicule contained in it became stronger and stronger. The intuitive 9th grade warriors, combined with Chen Mo's words, immediately tasted a hint of ominous signs. The 9 people who charged forward tacitly, faced with the intuitive warning, but their bodies' instinctive reactions were different. Some people moved forward, such as the one who flew forward on all fours. He made up his mind and burned his blood to increase the speed of the sprint. He bounced his legs back and curled up into a meat bomb and rushed towards Chen Mo. If I get within 5 steps of you, no matter how many tricks you have, you will die on the spot. As he got closer and closer to Chen Mo, the ominous feeling in his heart became stronger and stronger, but this warrior, however, fully demonstrated the warrior's motto, "The brave wins when they meet on a narrow road," and continued to move forward with a stubborn head. He clearly saw that Chen Mo's mockery and disdain expression became more and more obvious. However, he had no way out. There were those who dared to fight forward, and there were those who retreated in time to keep their useful bodies. For example, the middle-aged man who had previously been the arrowhead of the Chinese character battle formation, gathered the strength of everyone, and performed a Genki flying sword. At the same time, when he felt a warning sign in his heart, he stopped his body, twisted his waist and abdomen, and forced himself to fly backwards. Because the recoil force of the sudden change of direction was too strong, the middle-aged man felt stuffy in his chest and spit out a mouthful of blood. With the air smoothed, his steps naturally became fast. In the blink of an eye, he and Chen Mo opened up a distance of 100 feet, and his eyelids that kept beating stopped. Safe. The middle-aged man who was afraid of fighting murmured to himself, and then looked around, only to find that he was the only one who retreated. The other 8 colleagues, with fearless momentum, accelerated and rushed towards Chen Mo, as if they wanted to knock down this Kigan practitioner and share their food. A group of high-level warriors who are good at close combat risked their lives to attack. Chen Mo was not panicked at all. He smiled, closed his eyes, and suddenly waved his right hand downwards, as if he couldn't bear to see the miserable state of the Wu people in the next second. Squeak, squeak was the sound of a large-scale air leak. With Chen Mo as the center, within a radius of 10 feet, wisps of mist rose up. They were not only cold, but also could directly penetrate rocks, plants, and soil. They were the ice and war evil spirits that were previously defeated by the Genki flying sword. Chen Mo used the yin attribute Qi Yuan as a guide to stimulate their activity. Why should we absorb these already scattered and degraded heaven and earth evil spirits back into the shroud again? Wouldn't it be better to directly recycle them and turn them into traps to kill the 9-headed insects of the Wu kingdom? The urging of yin spiritual energy and Qi Yuan made these broken war evil spirits and ice evil spirits turn into gaseous state and boil. The Wu masters who charged forward blindly were the lettuce and raw meat in this pot of boiling water. Everything happened in a flash. The previous second, the runner on all fours, who was at the forefront of the drinking wine and rinsing oneself team, stretched his fingertips forward, and was only a palm away from Chen Mo's lower body. But in the next second, the evil spirit burst out, and this short distance became the natural mode of life and death. After all, he failed to touch Chen Mo in advance and interrupt his spell before the evil spirit trap was activated. Frost overflowed from the underground soil, along the limbs of the first person to die in Wu state, and quickly covered his whole body. The extreme coldness froze his body and turned it into an ice sculpture with only his eyeballs still moving. The air in front of Chen Mo was filled with sharp fighting spirits. Under Chen Mo's urging, it turned into layers of sharp golden wire nets, laying a trap that would kill the Wu people on the road they had to pass. Since high-level warriors have no spiritual awareness, they are not able to perceive the alien spiritual energy of heaven and earth, such as evil spirits. Although they were wondering why the leader suddenly turned into an ice sculpture, they still gritted their teeth and rushed forward. They knew that at this critical moment, too much hesitation would only give Chen Mo more time to cast spells and die faster. Crack, crack, crack. Uniform sounds rang out from the bodies of the remaining 7 people one after another. The middle-aged man 100 feet away watched as the 7 colleagues, except for the ice sculpture, still maintained their forward posture, but suddenly lost their breath. Less than 3 steps away from Chen Mo, their strong bodies fell down with a bang, and in midair, they broke into pieces of flesh and blood of uniform size, making a series of heavy objects falling to the ground pa-pa-pa sounds. The latest novel is published on the 69th book bar. After being soaked in blood, the death-cutting trap formed by the war evil was revealed, and it emitted a bright light in the dark night. The middle-aged man almost fell to the ground with his feet soft. He couldn't believe his eyes. What kind of magic can instantly take the lives of 7 beings of the same level? This ice sculpture is good, but unfortunately, I don't like it, so I'll just smash it. Chen Mo took a step forward and passed by the ice sculpture. On the way, his right hand gently brushed the head of the ice sculpture, and the ice sculpture was in a posture of prostrating and running wildly with 4 hooves, just like a human owner caressing the head of his dog. But the next second, fine cracks appeared on the ice sculpture, and with a squeak, it broke into pieces and turned into ice chips that fell to the ground. Unlike the 7 companions who turned into pieces of flesh and blood, this Wu country expert who rushed the fastest received special care from Chen Mo. When his body was torn into pieces, not a single drop of blood was left, all of which was solidified in his body by the ice evil. From a distance, the destruction of the ice sculpture actually carried a sense of beauty and sadness, as if a work of art was tainted by the dirty hands of the world, which made people sigh. The explosion of the ice evil and the war evil instantly cleared the scene, and the only one left from the Wu country was a middle-aged man who escaped the fastest. But his fighting power was already very little, and all his blood and internal energy were poured into the previous Genki flying sword. Chapter 180 The Origin of the Boundary Monument. Frightened by Chen Mo's evil spirit dismemberment technique, the middle-aged man, whose body had already been overdrawn, looked even more hunched and thin. He wished he could curl up into an almost invisible ball to avoid Chen Mo's sight and save his life. Unfortunately, this was impossible. After a moment, Chen Mo's sight shifted from the blood clots on the ground to the only survivor. A piercing murderous intent spread from the soles of the middle-aged man's feet to his whole body, causing him to lose the will to fight to the death in an instant. Master Immortal, I am Ren Yuanlian, an elder of a martial arts sect recruited by the Wu Kingdom's royal family. I have secret intelligence about Wu Kingdom's military operations against Yan Kingdom. In order to survive, Ren Yuanlian, who had limited loyalty to Wu Kingdom, immediately sold out all his former loyalists and shamelessly seduced Chen Mo. Wu Kingdom has wolfish ambitions and is sharpening its knives to attack the eastern countries. Although I am of humble status, I am quite familiar with the general situation of Wu Kingdom. If you want to deal with Wu Kingdom, you must be able to use me. The greatest heroes serve their country and their people. You, on the other hand, don't want to repay your motherland, and you even want to be a guide. Chen Mo couldn't help but laugh out loud, and looked at Ren Yuanlian's ugly appearance with a joking look, and doubts arose in his heart. How can such a weak-willed person achieve the 9th level of martial arts? Could it be that his martial arts will is soft and he is servile to the strong? This time, I sneaked into the Nanman King's court to hunt the boundary monument. It was the imperial decree of the Wu Emperor. It cannot be resisted. It was not my original intention. I hope that the Immortal Master will forgive me for any offense. Everything about the Wu Kingdom, I will tell you everything I know. Seeing Chen Mo's murderous aura, he was so scared that he couldn't move at all. Ren Yuanlian kept distancing himself from the Wu Kingdom royal family and portrayed himself as a martial arts wanderer who had to become a running dog of the court for the survival of his sect. No need, I will get what I want to know myself. Chen Mo changed the subject and said coldly. He flicked his sleeves and a black light shot straight at Ren Yuanlian's face. Halfway through the black light, the vague figure of the dream snake appeared. Its soybean-sized eyes flashed with a strange purple light, which instantly captured Ren Yuanlian's mind. Slurp, the dream snake turned into 7 black smokes and drilled into Ren Yuanlian's 7 orifices, causing the muscles of his limbs that were hunched over and crawling on the ground to become extremely stiff, losing support and falling down with a bang. With the help of the vision shared with the evil spirit, in the hazy dream, Chen Mo induced Ren Yuanlian's subconscious to reveal a lot of secrets of the Wu Kingdom. Boundary monuments are spiritual creatures with earth attributes unique to the subcontinent. They are rare and their whereabouts are uncertain. But their roots are a certain essence of the dragon vein that guards the country and the territory of Wu. It was not until recent years that all the dragon veins that guard the country in Wu were fully formed and the dragon energy soared into the sky. This secret was known to the royal family of Wu. Therefore, Wu sent a large number of martial arts masters, holding dragon energy talismans, and using their essence from the same source as the boundary monuments, to hunt down the boundary monuments all over the subcontinent, trying to retrieve the dragon vein essence in them and replenish the dragon veins that guard the country. The land and water of one place nourishes the dragon vein of one place. The nature of this dragon vein in the subcontinent is so special that even though Guzai and Steward Wei had traded with the boundary monument for new blood in person, they had never discovered its dragon vein essence, which is why the dragon vein in the subcontinent has been hidden until now. If the Wu people collect all the dragon vein essences scattered in the boundary monument, I am afraid that the quality of their national dragon vein will be raised to a higher level. This time, I can be regarded as accidentally helping Guzai a lot. Chen Mo secretly thought, should I turn a blind eye and let Ren Yuanlian take the remains of the boundary monument of the Nanman King Court back to Wu State, making it more difficult for Guzai to come to Wu to cut the dragon vein in the future? If I'm lucky, maybe the suddenly strengthened Wu State dragon vein will kill this cheap master. Chen Mo thought for a while, and finally gave up this tempting idea. Because he, as a disciple who accepted the mission of investigating the abnormal changes in the subcontinent, had to go to Wudu, and he and Guxi were tied to the same rope. If this late-stage divine power patron died near the dragon vein, he himself would not survive. But I can embezzle this dragon vein essence. With my skills, I can steal it without anyone noticing, and the old priest will definitely not find it. The boundary monument is a piece of essence that fell from the dragon vein. It has extremely high research value for chip analysis of the essence of dragon energy, so Chen Mo naturally does not want to let it go in vain. In addition, Chen Mo also got a piece of news, since the chief of the Kangling army, Yang Pajin, and the old man of the scattered cultivators died in succession at the hands of the Jingnan Marcus Mansion, Wu Guo has not given up the desire to unify the subcontinent and destroy us, and has sent capable generals to sneak into Jinayan to stir up trouble. However, the specific details of this subversion of Jinayan's country and state were unknown to Ren Yuanlian, because the hunting boundary monuments Yamen where Ren Yuanlian worked was not under the same jurisdiction as the assassinating princes and generals of eastern countries Yamen. You have used up all your value, you can go to hell. After instructing the dream snake to create a torture nightmare of the 18 levels of hell, Chen Mo no longer paid attention to Ren Yuanlian. As for his previous promise to die for the Jingnan Marcus Mansion and serve as a guide to destroy the Wu Kingdom, he did not believe a word. How can a villain who goes back on his word and depends on the strong deserve my trust? According to the behavioral personality analysis of the chip, Ren Yuanlian has a high chance of betraying in the middle of the journey, and it is not worth Chen Mo to take such a big risk to get a 9th grade warrior slave. Who knows what strange detoxification ability the Wu Kingdom Dragon Vein has that can remove the control curse that Chen Mo has placed on Ren Yuanlian. Ren Yuanlian's life was simply ended by Chen Mo, who was afraid of risks and troubles. The latest novel is published on the 69th Book Forum. He closed his eyes, clenched his teeth, curled up his limbs, and rolled in the dust under Chen Mo's feet, screaming heartbreakingly from time to time, and was tortured by the torture hell created by the dream snake. Being killed by the dream snake in a dream will be directly reflected in the real world. Ren Yuanlian does not have the powerful divine energy and flexible means of using divine energy of a cultivator. The instinctive resistance of his soul cannot break free from the nightmare woven by the dream snake. On the contrary, the more he resisted, the more excited the dream snake, which was born to play with dreams and absorb the souls of intelligent creatures, became. It tirelessly created more horrible punishments that did not exist in reality in the dream to entertain Ren Yuanlian, making him pinch his soul with his own hands in endless pain. I like to kill people in my dreams, and I kill people invisibly, which describes the ghosts and monsters like the dream snake. In a moment, the enemies of the Wu Kingdom all ended up in a miserable end, allowing the 3 giants of the Nanman King's court to once again witness Chen Mo's terrifying strength. They couldn't help but secretly feel fortunate that they had previously agreed on all matters related to the marriage alliance with the Jingnan Marquis's mansion. If you don't agree, today, I'm afraid that the 3 of us will fall to the ground and be torn into pieces by Chen Mo. The old priest sighed, and the sadness of being the fish at the mercy of others rose in his heart. Without the top strongmen sitting in, whether it is the 9 9th grade warriors of the Wu Kingdom or Chen Mo alone, they can swagger into the Nanman King's court and carry out the decapitation plan. The so-called siege by the army is just a joke under their various concealment methods. It's good this way. Hold on to the big thigh of Jingnan Marcus Mansion. With Chen Annan's conscience and preference for Kikaj, he will never treat our Wang Ting, who follows the Marcus Mansion's lead, unfairly. After witnessing the death of the boundary monument that had been a half-teacher to him, The old priest really gave up the idea of competing with Jingnan Marcus Mansion this time. It's good to become a vassal of the strong. At least the ancestral graves and ancestral temples will not be dug up by foreign enemies. He saw Chen Mo's footsteps lightly moving, still wandering around a place where the boundary monument died. His eyes were erratic, and the old priest's intuition made him realize that the behavior of this lifesaver seemed to be improper. But he didn't dare to speculate, let alone question it. He could only let Chen Mo wonder for a while, and then leave with a look of joy on his face. Chapter 181 Jinayan Capital Division. On the long ancient road leading to the capital of Jinayan State, a handsome unicorn, with 4 hooves flying, and the ends of its slender mane oozing red sweat from time to time, is like a gust of bright red wind, sweeping along the horizon. The pedestrians on both sides of the ancient road just heard the clack of horse hooves and felt the hot power of the beast. Before they could dodge to the sides, a bright red phantom passed by them and turned into a small red dot on the horizon. The knight on the horse was Chen Mo. He accidentally glimpsed the blood-clear beast under his crotch when he left the miasma forest. Seeing that it had strong limbs and a well-proportioned body, it was a good tool for transportation. Chen Mo took off and landed accurately on the broad back of the blood-clear beast. As soon as he sat down, Chen Mo squeezed his legs hard and urged the blood-clear beast to run to the north. As a 9th-grade beast, it is also a dominant existence in the miasma forest. This is the first time in its life that it has been ridden by a human, and it is so abrupt and the rider's movements are so rough. How can the blood-clearing beast bear it? It immediately neighed to the sky, its hair stood up, and it was instantly violent. Since Chen Mo had never revealed a trace of the breath of a cultivator, it was unable to deter the blood-clearing beast. The moment it was ridden under the crotch, it rushed around and jumped up and down, intending to knock Chen Mo off the horse's back and trample him into meat paste. At that time, Chen Mo was also in a playful mood. He deliberately did not use weakness, intimidation, mental puncture and other spells to subdue the blood-clearing beast, but only used the power of the flesh to sit steadily on its back, allowing it to pose in various postures and perform various thrilling actions. After a bumpy journey for half an hour, Chen Mo's legs were still firmly locked in the lower abdomen of the blood-clearing beast like the roots of an old tree, making it extremely uncomfortable. What's more, even though the blood-clear beast was already panting, Chen Mo didn't let it go. Whenever it stopped heading north, he would use his toes to stimulate its soft belly. After another half an hour of tossing and turning, the red light in the blood-clear beast sized him a lot. It stuck out its long tongue covered with barbs, and turned its head with great effort to Chen Mo, making a hum-hum-ha-ha sound, revealing its intention to surrender. After all, it couldn't get rid of the dog skin plaster on its back, so it could only accept its fate and be ridden all the time. Horse training is like training an eagle, and it requires a balance between tension and relaxation. Seeing that he accidentally tossed the blood-clear beast half of its life with a little force, Chen Mo mercifully let it go, took out 3 key and blood pills, and put them into its white, saliva-filled mouth. The blood-clearing beast, which grew up eating raw meat and blood and swallowing the southern barbarians in the miasma forest, had never tasted the concentrated essence of plants and trees. It was immediately conquered by a few cheap blood and key pills and shed its eager saliva. Therefore, with a big stick in one hand and sugar beans in the other, Chen Mo used both kindness and force to quickly subdue the 9th-grade beast and embarked on the return journey to the Jingnan Marcus mansion. As for the safety of his brother Chen Anan, Chen Mo was not worried. Maybe, in order to enjoy the flowers and the moon, the elder brother would have to stay in the Nanman King's court for a long time. However, when Chen Mo arrived at the Jingnan Marcus mansion, he received news that his father Chen Dingman went to Jinayan capital to accept the abdication of the Chu royal family. Because he was worried that the thief of the Wu state would make a fuss at the abdication ceremony, Chen Mo never stopped for a moment, whipping the blood-clearing beast and rushing to the capital without stopping. The sweat from the blood-clear beast was bright red like blood. Along the way, it left a beautiful scenery of a bright red whirlwind, which shocked many passers-by. After crossing a small hill, Chen Mo sat on the back of the blood-clear beast and climbed up and looked far away. He saw the smoke from the Jinayan capital from afar. Fortunately, the capital has not been lit up and there has been no war. The claws of the Wu kingdom cannot reach so far. Dad is safe for now. Looking at the peaceful and quiet Jinayan capital, Chen Mo breathed a sigh of relief and laughed at himself. Dad has 100 blood wolf guards beside him, plus Mo Bai and Yu Guang, 2 Kigan practitioners. There is no problem with safety. I thought too much? Chen Mo patted the blood-clear beast under his crotch and found that its limbs began to shake because of the extreme running day and night for more than 10 days. He felt a little distressed, so he rewarded it with 5 key and blood pills as a reward. In order to ensure that he still had full strength after arriving at Jinyan capital, Chen Mo did not use magic to hurry on, relying entirely on the speed of the blood-clear beast. Along the way, it did not have much credit, but it still had some hard work. Chen Mo thought of the blood-clear beast's kindness and rewarded it with 5 more rations. After training along the way, this 9th-grade beast has been obedient to Chen Mo, and can stay in the Jingnan Marcus mansion in the future as a house-guarding beast. At least, with the qualifications of his father and brother, even with the help of Chen Mo's magic elixir, they may not be able to beat this blood-clear beast even if they practice for a lifetime. Riding a handsome blood-clear beast into Jinyan capital will surely cause a big commotion. Chen Mo did not want the spies of Wu State to know his whereabouts, so he turned over and dismounted, whispered a few words to the blood-clear beast, and then set out on the road to the city alone. The wisdom of the blood-clear beast is equivalent to that of a child in his teens. It can still be easily done by hiding in the nearby mountains and forests for dozens of days. Chen Mo is very relieved. When everything in the capital is settled, we will take it into the city. Chen Mo took out a coarse linen shirt from the storage bag and put it on. His bones all over his body made a crisp sound of crackling. However, after taking 3 steps forward, his figure became thinner and shorter. At first glance, he was just an ordinary farmer. Under the adjustment of the yin-yang facial makeup, Chen Mo's facial features became blurred and his skin color became darker. When he looked up again, he had become a bitter man with a face full of dust and smoke. Even if he stood in front of his biological father Chen Dingman, he would never recognize this honor. What's more amazing is that Chen Mo's disguise technique did not use a trace of Qi Yuan, and the dragon key was extremely difficult to detect. Chen Mo relied entirely on the exquisite control of his own body to slightly twist the bones, muscles, and meridians around his body, which produced such an amazing effect of unrecognizable and greatly changed body. The latest novels are published on 69 Shuba. He casually broke off some pine and cypress branches, removed the leaves, tied them with straw ropes, and carried them on his shoulders. He hung an old axe with a small crack on his waist. Chen Mo dressed up as a genuine mountain woodcutter. Firewood, good firewood. Entering the capital, Chen Mo lowered his voice, imitated the tune of his colleagues, and hoarsely hawked the dry firewood on his back, which was ordinary. But his consciousness had already been released, covering the pedestrians, buildings, objects, chickens and ducks around him. The chip also started to run at high speed, constantly analyzing the 3-dimensional data of pedestrians around Chen Mo, the composition of the air he breathes, and the objects placed on both sides of the street. A large amount of information, after being summarized and processed by the chip, was presented to Chen Mo in the form of a concise report. No trace of the minions of the Wu Kingdom has been found for the time being, but 3 days later, the old master in the capital of Jinyan will abdicate, and the new emperor will offer sacrifices to the heavens. The whole city will celebrate with great momentum. It must be a godsend opportunity for the bandits of the Wu Kingdom to stir up trouble. It is recommended that the host ambush near the Temple of Heaven in advance. The suggestion given by the chip coincided with Chen Mo's plan. Ren Yuanlian once revealed in a dream that Chen Mo ranked first in the Wu Kingdom's must-kill list, the Jinyan Kingdom list, firmly suppressing his father, brother and Chu Zijin. According to the order of importance, those who sneak into Jinyan Kingdom must make killing the top of the list their first priority, and will never find Chen Dingman's place of residence first to assassinate him and alert the enemy. As for the Chu royal family, even if the Wu people attack their homes and the whole family is wiped out, what does it have to do with me? Chen Mo looked at the brightly lit palace at the end of the street and smiled sarcastically. This center of the world that once dominated the lives of Jinyan Kingdom has entered its twilight years. It was dusk, and the last ray of dim sunlight coincidentally fell on the vermilion walls of this palace, covering it with the last gorgeous clothes before the curtain fell. The setting sun is about to fall, and it is dark and soul-destroying at a glance. Chen Mo sighed faintly, offering the last song for the curtain of the Chu family, and then merged into the flow of people, stepped into a dark corner, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Chapter 182 Funny Disguise. 3 days later, in the morning, Chen Mo got up early, changed into an ordinary civilian dress in the capital, and walked on the street. While wandering around, he was getting closer and closer to the Temple of Heaven. Looking down, This big event of changing dynasties and the Chen family replacing the Chu family did not bring much impact to the people at the foot of the imperial city. They were engaged in daily life as usual, and even the people who discussed this matter in a low voice were very few. No matter which family or surname dominated the Jinyan kingdom above their heads, as ordinary people in the market, they still had to live their lives. Peddlers hawked along the streets, maids washed dirty clothes on the embankment, and shops along the street hung up shop banners and opened one after another. Even the Jinwu guards who protected the capital also patrolled the city in groups of 3 or 5. The only difference was that the frequency of patrols was much higher than before. This down-to-earth market life is still as rich as before. Chen Mo has lived in the sparsely populated and gloomy Zuimen for a long time. Suddenly, he was in this peaceful and bustling world, and felt refreshed physically and mentally. This prosperous scene of raging fire and cooking oil could not be destroyed by the scum of Wu State. Looking around, Chen Mo saw mostly happy smiles of passers-by. Even the porters and strongmen at the bottom of the capital were busy and sweaty, showing their longing and hope for future life. The light reflected in their eyes is not numbness and sadness of muddling through, but the courage and persistence to fight for a better future. Although for many years, the Jingnan Marcus mansion and the Chu royal family have been at odds with each other, and there have been constant party disputes and frictions in the court, large-scale battles with real guns and real knives have never happened once under the restraint and forbearance of both sides. It was a long time ago that the southern barbarians invaded the border. With the Jingnan Marquisate in charge of the southern border, even the people under the Marquisate were rarely captured and slaughtered by the southern barbarians, let alone the people in the capital city in the heart of Jinyan. Therefore, the people here have never experienced war for generations. In addition, the taxes levied by the court were light, and the benevolent government was implemented to benefit the people. Even if the lives of ordinary people were hard, as long as they were willing to sell their labor, they would have no problem getting enough food and clothing. Life was going well, and pedestrians naturally greeted people with smiles, and the market was also bustling. Chen Mo wore the white dragonfish costume and saw the true style of Jinyan. While feeling the atmosphere of worldly fireworks, he could not help but feel a raging anger towards the source of all evil. Wuguo, my biggest ambition after returning from the Blood Robe sect is to help my father and brother seize control of Jinyan. How could I be as aggressive as Wuguo and try to unify the entire subcontinent? A mere mortal empire, relying on a dragon vein, wants to sweep across the world. Is it worthy? Chen Mo has a deep background of being a direct descendant of the Blood Robe sect. He has never dreamed of such a great cause. How dare Wuguo be so arrogant? Therefore, Chen Mo did not have the slightest recognition of the Wuguo, who was greedy and wanted to poison Jinyan, but only endless anger. Thinking of this, when Guxi came to Wudu in the future, cut off the dragon vein, destroyed the royal family, and affected the blood and fire of countless civilians, it was also the fault of Wuguo. As an aggressive country that attempts to rule the entire subcontinent, from the Emperor Wu to the common people, all of them are stained or intend to be stained with the blood of the people of neighboring countries. There is no innocent person. It is normal for Wu State to be punished by Guzai. I am only at the 9th level of key training, and my cultivation is not high. When Wu State collapses, I can just go up and set a fire and get a share of the spoils. Chen Mo has already planned it. Let the Chief Master Guzai do more work and attract the dying counterattack of Wu State in the front, and he will follow behind to deal with some of the fish that slip through the net and drink some soup. Today, it is considered an appetizer. I want to see who is sent to die by Wu State. Getting closer and closer to the Temple of Heaven, Chen Mo wanted to get closer as an ordinary citizen, and it was impossible. He suddenly had an idea and turned into a ghost, staring at a young Yulin Lang who served as a guard of honor. This young man, who may have just climbed up from the soft couch of a prostitute, saw that there was not much time left for the ceremony of offering sacrifices to the heaven, and hurriedly put on the beautiful armor of Yulin Lang, without even straightening his clothes. The helmet, which was more decorative than practical, was worn by him in a weird way. A bright and straight feather was tilted to one side. From a distance, this heroic and high-spirited Yulin Lang looked like a defeated little rooster, with feathers withered and no aura. Chen Mo approached this Yulin Lang, who was in a hurry in a dark corner, and knocked him out without anyone noticing. As a sergeant of Yulin Lang, he could probably get a few hundred steps closer to the Temple of Heaven. Yulin Lang, who was hit in the back of the neck, fell limply into Chen Mo's arms. The dream snake slid and drilled into his mouth and nose, creating a dream to help Chen Mo obtain the corresponding matters as a Yulin Lang during the ceremony of offering sacrifices to the heaven. The latest novel is published on 69 Shuba. When Chen Mo stripped off Yulin Lang's underwear and put it on himself, he saw the big picture from the small details and deduced that the elite Yulin Lang who was recognized by the world and was responsible for guarding the capital was just a silver-plated spearhead that looked good but was useless. The lower abdominal muscles of this low-ranking soldier returned to one, turning into a ball of fat and elastic fat. A light tap produced layers of flesh waves, which also had a little fat cushioning effect. As for his martial arts cultivation, it was also extremely unbearable. It seemed to be a first-class health-preserving realm, but under years of drinking and sex, the most important essence of a martial artist had long been drained, and he could barely maintain the appearance of entering the realm. A pair of jade hands, with soft fingers and smooth skin, without the thick calluses of people who practice martial arts for many years. I think the number of times he touches women's skin is far more than the number of times he wields weapons. If the military camp in the capital is full of this kind of people, my Jingnan army can defeat them all with a charge. Chen Mo saw the quality of Yulin Lang at close range and couldn't help but smile. He even felt that his father and brother had not Jingshin Fengnan in these years, which was also enough to save face for the Chu royal family. This kind of stuff is too inferior. I'm afraid it's not even as good as my auxiliary soldiers. While changing Yulin Lang's clothes and stuffing him into an inconspicuous corner of the alley, Chen Mo laughed and scolded. In fact, it is also normal in the capital camp that the soldiers are weak and unable to fight. Even if there is a potential threat from the Jingnan Marquis's mansion, at least, for so many years, Chen Mo's family has never led troops out of the southern border and approached the capital. Even if the Yulin Lang has a sense of crisis, they may not be desperately manipulating themselves in daily training. The Yulin Lang is not like the Jingnan army, and they will not fight with Ananman tribes running around the border of the miasma every other day. Without the tempering of blood and fire, it is normal for the Yulin Lang to become a pure honor guard. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 The Eve of the Ceremony. Chen Mo changed his clothes and transformed himself into a young man who was drunk and had a light footsteps according to the face and figure of the Yulin Lang. He looked like a dandy. As for the Yulin Lang who was impersonated, he would be unconscious for at least 10 hours, and he would obviously not be able to catch up with the heaven sacrifice ceremony. He was skinned by Chen Mo into a white lamb and thrown into a remote corner of the alley. Due to the severe cold, the naked body twitched and shivered from time to time. There was a pile of stinking filth beside him. It was impossible to be discovered by all passers-by. Reading the information that the dream snake had extracted from Yulin Lang's mind, Chen Mo imitated it. After only 5 or 6 minutes, he adjusted his expression and gait to be almost the same as the original owner under the prompt of the chip. Even the Yulin Lang comrades who had drunk wine together could not find that this wine and meat brother had been quietly replaced when they met face to face. The chip's carving of the details of the disguise, the precise control of the flesh, and the dream snake's theft of mortal memories, combined with the three, made it easy for Chen Mo to change his appearance. Transformed into a sergeant of Yulin Lang, Chen Mo swaggered towards the Temple of Heaven. The comrades he met along the way did not notice anything unusual, and nodded to him, teasing "Is the girl last night moist?" and walked together. Returning to his own post, Chen Mo quietly waited for the start of the ceremony of offering sacrifices to the heaven, and also witnessed the discipline and military appearance of the bear army of Yulin Lang. As the guard of such an important ceremony, the Yulin Lang who arrived early and were full of energy and spirit accounted for less than 30% of the total number, and the remaining 70% were the same as the one Chen Mo replaced. They were late, untidy, and had a faint scent of rouge on their bodies. They were just like a group of good hands in bed, not real heroes on the battlefield. In addition, these people are old acquaintances. When they came in groups of 3 or 5, with their arms around each other, and they called each other brother and good brother. There was no strict discipline in the army. Even if the commander of Yulin Lang stood at the front of the team with a solemn face, these dandy boys turned a blind eye, still laughing and doing their own thing. It was not until the bell rang from the palace that the time for the ceremony of offering sacrifices to the sky was approaching that they restrained their smiles, held the ceremonial guards honestly, and stood at the posts. From the conversation of the dandy Yu Linlang, Chen Mo also knew their origins. They were all officials of the capital and military merits of the court. Many of them were related to each other, resulting in the complicated relationship chain of Yu Linlang, which numbered only 1,000 people, and could be called a small court. Therefore, Yu Linlang, which was originally intended to guard the capital and select the children of civil officials and generals as soldiers to maintain loyalty, degenerated into a filthy place for these young people to expand their network and form cliques for personal gain. It would be strange if they could have combat effectiveness. Even the commander of an army did not dare to punish these young soldiers, fearing that they would be stripped of their official positions by the people behind them. They only dared to stand in front of the queue, with a dead face to show their anger. Fortunately, the court also knew the quality of this group of Yu Linlang. Just using them as a ceremonial guard for show, the effect is indeed good. After all, they are all spoiled young men, dressed in fine clothes and fed with delicious food, raised to be fat and tall, standing together in groups. At first glance, it is quite intimidating. At least the people of the capital passing by in the distance, just to glance at these mighty and burly Yu Linlang, they were startled in their hearts, lowered their heads and hurried past, and did not dare to look at the Temple of Heaven for more. There are others who really guard the Temple of Heaven, all hidden in the dark. Chen Mo mixed in the Yu Linlang and felt a lot of cold patrolling eyes. The people on guard were all masters of martial arts, and their cultivation was mostly around the 5th grade divine power realm. With a little perception from his divine sense, he found out where they were staying, and the chip drew a distribution map of the guards, with the Temple of Heaven as the center. They spread out in a fan-shaped pattern, densely packed, gathering and dispersing in a measured manner, leaving no corner where assassins might hide. These real guards, a combination of visible and hidden sentries, completed the guarding mission to the fullest. No abnormality was found within the 500 meters around the host. The thieves from the Wu Kingdom have not arrived yet. Please wait patiently. Chen Mo's eyes condensed, and he looked towards the palace. He vaguely guessed how the evil guests from the Wu Kingdom would arrive, and muttered to himself, "Old Emperor, don't stand on the wrong side, otherwise, I will have to kill all of you, the Chu family." In the past 3 days, Chen Mo also took the time to wander around Chen Dingman's Beijing Marcus mansion. He did not find any sneaky people. Combined with the fact that there was no abnormality near the Temple of Heaven, it was obvious where the people from the Wu Kingdom were. When the king of Chu abdicated, there must be hundreds of officials accompanying him, and the people from the Wu Kingdom must be among them. Da 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 da. The rhythmic sound of horse hooves broke the bustling voices in the market. A solemn and murderous atmosphere added a touch of murderous aura to the capital in the early morning. Chen Mo looked towards the outer city, and saw a black torrent, just like a tide, rushing towards the Temple of Heaven. It was the elite of the Jingnan army who escorted Chen Dingman to the capital to accept the abdication. At the front of the torrent was a bright blood red, composed of more than 100 blood wolf guards that Chen Mo had just trained. Before they arrived, they had frightened the golden exterior, rotten cotton inside Yu Linlang into disarray. Many young master soldiers who had never seen the world were frightened by the blood wolf guard's sky-high murderous aura. Their arms were shaking, and they almost couldn't hold the decorative ceremonial guards, so that the dark yellow tassels on the top of them fell to the ground, which was quite unbearable. Clear the field. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Chen Dingman's dull and loud voice rang out. Under the drive of the Jingnan army, the Yu Linlang, who was dressed in golden armor and had a dignified appearance, was replaced from the position of the honor guard. The commander of the Yu Linlang could not even complete the last task before leaving office. He was so angry that his face turned blue and his fists were clenched white, but he did not dare to disobey Chen Dingman's military order. Sighing unwillingly, the commander issued the order of change of guard with a complex expression of half coercion and half voluntary. As the commander of Yu Linlang, although this commander did not have enough prestige and ability to subdue the soldiers under his command, his loyalty to the Jinayan royal family was deep in his bones. Facing Chen Dingman, who was plotting to usurp the throne, he naturally would not have a good face, and changing camps was even more a fantasy. But his little arms could not beat his thighs. Even his master, the Chu royal family, knelt down. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only admit it. At most, he gave Chen Dingman a dead face to irritate him. The commander's call of change of guard made the Yu Linlang, who were shrouded in the murderous aura of the Jingnan army, feel relieved. They dragged their heavy ceremonial guards and ran away. As for watching the ceremony of offering sacrifices to the heaven and abdication from the outside, they did not dare to do so and could only return to their own homes. Surrounded by the iron-blooded and powerful army, Chen Dingman turned over and dismounted, with his hands behind his back, waiting calmly at the bottom of the Shantan temple, looking at the imperial palace, waiting for the arrival of the king of Chu and the civil and military officials. As the Marquis of Jingnan who ruled the southern border, Chen Dingman had experienced many ups and downs in his life. He had slept with passionate southern barbarian women, went deep into the dangerous miasma forest, destroyed many small southern barbarian tribes, ambushed alone near the capital, and twisted the head of the old royal family. But the storm of changing dynasties was the first time Chen Dingman had experienced it. He had only thought about it in his mind before, so when he stood at the bottom of the Temple of Heaven, his hands trembled slightly and his eyelids twitched slightly, revealing Chen Dingman's inner restlessness. Although this abdication and heaven worship ceremony was just a ceremony, in terms of secular etiquette, it represented the Chen family of the Marquis of Jingnan and became the real ruler of Jinayan state. Chen Dingman had always been planning that the emperor takes turns, and this year it's my turn. At this moment, he was only one step away from realizing this lifelong dream. He was quite emotional and couldn't help but sigh. The wisest decision I have made in my life is to train this bad boy Chen Mo. One person's practice will bring prosperity to the whole family. This rumor about practitioners circulating in the world, to some extent, came true in the Jingnan Marquis mansion. Chapter 184. Chu Qilin, you and I have fought for most of our lives. Today, it's time to end it. Looking at the Chu's palace with its continuous walls and deep courtyards, Chen Dingman showed a hint of sinister and fierce expression, and had murderous intentions in his heart. Chen Mo understood his old father's micro-expressions very well, and knew that he had made up his mind to kill all the Chu family members who voluntarily abdicated. When Chu Qilin, the former master of Jinayan, abdicated, it was the day he died. Obviously, Chen Mo's unfinished marriage with Chu Qilin's youngest daughter Chu Zijin did not affect Chen Dingman's decision. In his opinion, the most stable and fastest way to bring Jinayan under the control of the Chen family is to eliminate the Chu family members who abdicated sadly. Without this orthodox banner, the old and young people who miss their homeland, the loyal and dead ministers, can't make much waves at all. Chen Dingman is good at military affairs, but he is also good at political schemes and the mind of the emperor. Otherwise, he would not have been able to govern the vast southern border over the years. Chen Mo, who had no feelings for the Chu family and whose father ordered him to do so, naturally had no objection. He mixed in with the Yulin Lang and nodded silently. As a Yulin Lang of the honor guard, he had been driven away from the Temple of Heaven by the Jingnan army. Seeing that the team was almost dispersed, Chen Mo, who was wearing a gorgeous gold-plated full-body armor and standing nearby, would only become conspicuous and abrupt, planned to change his clothes and continue to lurk here as a secret sentry. Ling. A slight spiritual fluctuation was detected. Energy level 3.8, wind attribute, no threat, source, southeast outer city. Chen Mo did not follow the chip's reminder and turned his head to pay attention to the source of the spiritual fluctuation, because this abnormal behavior would attract the attention of those who were interested. The chip is not omnipotent. Maybe a few fish slipped through the net during the previous investigation. If the Wu people noticed his whereabouts because of his probing behavior, it would not have the effect of surprise. Chen Mo was cautious by nature and did not want to reveal any flaws that would expose his identity. Therefore, Chen Mo kept walking and bent his body. With the cover of the 3 Yulin Langs around him, he walked to a high wall and quietly performed the light and shadow technique that interfered with the sunlight, hiding his figure in a natural shadow in the corner of the wall. Yulin Langs passed by here in 2s and 3s, but no one noticed that a comrade suddenly disappeared under their noses. As for those who were farther away, it was even more impossible to find any clues after a quick glance. With the cover of light and shadow technique, Chen Mo changed out of the Yulin Lang's gorgeous clothes, put on gray cloth clothes, curled up his body, and attached himself to the high wall, reducing his presence to the minimum. Ling. The corner of the wall here is extremely hidden. Only those who are 3 steps away can find the host. Please reduce your breathing frequency and continue to hide. The chip's affirmation also made Chen Mo feel relieved. He slightly turned sideways and looked at the source of the spiritual power fluctuations in the outer city. Against the dazzling morning light, Chen Mo narrowed his eyes and recognized a person who was shrouded in a green halo and rushed to the heavenly temple at lightning speed. Huh? Chu Zijin? Strange, as the princess of the Chu family who is about to be stripped of her title of princess, why is she not with her father, Emperor Chuquilin? Could it be that the Chu family? Chen Mo was puzzled, but did not stop Chu Zijin, who rushed straight towards Chen Dingman. Lord Jingnan had more than 100 Blood Wolf army guards, and 2 Kigan practitioners, Mobai and Yu Guang, were supporting him. Chu Zijin, who was a 3rd-level Kigan practitioner, could not assassinate the king. Swish, swish, swish. The Blood Wolf army drew their sharp blades, and formed a strict formation, forming a circle of iron barrels, surrounding Chen Dingman in the center. The rest of the Jingnan army followed suit, forming airtight military formations on the periphery. The cold arrows were already aimed at Chu Zijin, who was riding the wind in Feng Su. According to the calculation of the chip, with her pitiful Qi Yuan of only 3.9, facing the volley of arrows, she was afraid that she could not even use the lowest level, log shield formation, in a hurry. Continuing to move forward would be to die. The spiritual energy of the subcontinent is thin, and the low-level Qi practitioners can only use limited spells and their power in a limited time. Therefore, facing the mortal army with a well-organized army, the stupidest way to deal with it is to confront it head-on. Whether it is a high-level warrior or a Qi practitioner. The correct approach is to use light body spells, or even high-altitude flying talismans, to perform decapitation tactics against the high-level generals of the enemy army. Like when Chen Mo faced the Kangling army before, the frontal defeat tactics of 1 horse against 1,000 are rare after all, or it can be said that it is a unique combat method for physical cultivation. As for those who have reached the stage of supernatural power, they can defeat ordinary mortal army formations as they wish. Chu Zijin is not a stupid woman. Although her eyebrows are tightly knitted and her eyes are anxious, under the deterrence of the 1,000-man army formation, she landed 100 steps away from the range of the bow and arrow, and raised her hands slightly, indicating that she had no intention of charging into the formation alone. The light body talisman on Chu Zijin's arm trembled slightly, and ignited without wind, and the green wind attribute aura shrouded her body also dimmed. In this state, if Chen Dingman had a murderous intention and signaled the whole army to charge and shoot arrows at once, with Chu Zijin's cultivation, she could not escape the overwhelming arrow net at all, nor could she perform a self-defense spell, which could be called a deadly situation. It was full of sincerity. Lord Jingnan, I received a secret letter from my confidant. Someone from the Wu Kingdom has already sneaked into the palace. I'm afraid that my father is in danger. Please leave the capital as soon as possible. Chu Zijin took out a bloody piece of cloth from his sleeve, flicked his wrist, and shot it directly at Chen Dingman. The information he told was earth-shattering. Fortunately, the Jingnan army has been on the battlefield for a long time, and the invincible Chen Dingman is in the center. Although they were extremely surprised by Chu Zijin's information, no one made a commotion, and they still held their weapons tightly. The entire army formation was not in chaos at all, like a ferocious beast that had been dormant for a long time and was waiting for an opportunity to move. People marveled at the elite of the Jingnan army. Mobai's figure flashed, blocking in front of Chen Dingman. His right hand was shrouded in a ball of blue light, and he easily pinched a flying bloody cloth. As a guest official of the Marquis of Jingnan, he must be worthy of the spiritual stone reward paid by Chen Mo, and he is very concerned about the safety of Chen Dingman. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. My lord, please wait a moment. Let me check the letter and then present it to the prince. Slightly turning sideways to greet Chen Dingman, Mobai kneaded the blood-colored cloth strip with his index finger and injected a stream of qi into it to test its quality. The poisoning tricks and delayed magic explosion models of the qi cultivators are all good means to harm people. Therefore, everything that passes through Chen Dingman's hands must first pass his test. Although Mobai's cultivation is only a 5th-level qi cultivator, it is enough to deal with ordinary secular ghost tricks. After checking it up and down, Mobai handed the blood-colored paper to Chen Dingman. There was not much substantive information on it, only 4 scribbled blood words. Wu Guo, leave quickly my lord. In my opinion, the blood on it should be left by a high-level warrior, because the blood is still bright in color, which is completely different from the darkening and drying of ordinary mortal blood when it soaks into the cloth strip. Mobai said his analysis, as if hinting at the extraordinariness of this blood strip. It made a high-level warrior not even have time to write a few more strokes. Judging from the secular force alone, the person who left the words was probably attacked by a top-level martial arts master. My lord, for safety reasons, you'd better leave Beijing quickly. As long as you have Master Mo, the throne of Jinian is nothing but yours. Mo Bai gave a pertinent suggestion. After experiencing the attack of the Wu Guo on the island, he no longer looked down on secular warriors. Actual combat examples have made Mo Bai deeply realize that under the radiance of dragon energy, no matter how high your key training stage is, you will be deprived of the ability to cast spells, and you can't even make a small fireball. Only physical cultivation can be almost unaffected by dragon energy. In order to be safe and prevent Chen Dingman from being trapped in the capital and having difficulty explaining to Chen Mo, Mo Bai proposed a retreat. On the one hand, he took into account the face of the old Marcus, and on the other hand, as a guest official, he expressed his intention to treat this matter with caution. He believed that Chen Dingman, who had gone through 50 years of ups and downs, would not lose his mind because of a nominal abdication and heavenly sacrifice ceremony, and stubbornly defend the heavenly sacrifice temple. Chapter 185 Retreat. Chen Dingman pinched a blood-colored cloth strip, and his joints turned white due to excessive force. His ki suddenly became disordered, and a stream of ki accidentally leaked out, tearing the cloth strip into pieces. Although the old Marcus seemed calm on the surface, deep down in his heart, he was already in turmoil. The abdication and heaven worship ceremony, although just a name, is an obsession for Chen Dingman, who always wants to pull down the old emperor. Now, it is only one step away from the Jingnan Marcus mansion to turn over and take charge. If Chen Dingman suddenly gives up just because of a blood-colored cloth strip, he is really unwilling. As for Chu Zijin's words that were false and intended to delay the abdication ceremony, Chen Dingman did not believe it, because his second son would come to the capital one day, and this pale lie would be exposed sooner or later. Chen Dingman already believed about 70% of the enemy coming from the Wu Kingdom. Looking at the more than 1,000 veterans of the Jingnan army who had followed him for many years, and thinking of his two sons who had recently gone deep into the miasma forest, Chen Dingman sighed and squeezed out two words from his teeth: retreat. Soldiers. With an order, the Jingnan army, with the Blood Wolf Guard as the spearhead, changed the goose-shaped formation and marched towards the outer city. The formation was neat and the military appearance was solemn. They were not disturbed by the sudden cancellation of the heavenly sacrifice ceremony. As for Chu Zijin, who was blocking the front of the army, she was not included in the army. Instead, at Mo Bai's signal, she kept a distance of 100 feet and followed the main force. Although Mo Bai and Yu Gong were not afraid of Chu Zijin's sudden attack, they did not want to be on guard against her all the time on the way out of the capital, so they simply kept Chu Zijin away. As long as the distance is far enough, even if Chu Zijin suddenly uses assassination skills, the power of the spiritual energy fluctuations will almost decline when it reaches Chen Dingman. Mo Bai alone can deal with it calmly. Seeing that Chen Dingman finally issued an order to withdraw after a struggle between heaven and man, Chu Zijin couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, with a glimmer of hope in his eyes and a complicated expression. The Chu family's voluntary abdication was prompted by her strong persuasion. In Chu Zijin's view, blindly resisting Chen Mo will only lead to a more miserable death, so she simply wronged her father Chu Kilin to bow and kneel in order to survive. Only those who are also Kilin practitioners can know how powerful Chen Mo is. He alone is not something that the Jinian court can resist, let alone the magical demon Gu's eye behind him. Chu Zijin should hate Chen Mo. When she first met him in the eastern wasteland, she knew that the Chu family was finished. They had completely become the prey of the Jingnan Marcus mansion, and were at the mercy of Chen Mo. Even if she wanted to escape, she would not be able to run far with a large number of royal family members dragging her down. It was just a matter of dying early or late. If you are not as good as Chen Mo in cultivation, you should admit it. However, when Chu Zijin received the bloody warning strip that her confidant desperately passed on, her impression of Chen Mo changed subtly. Chen Mo was the only one who could fight against the Wu Kingdom and save her father, brother, and mother who might still be alive in the subcontinent. If he was not able to do it, he would still have his master's ghost fire Guxi to back him up. If a late-stage magic cultivator took action, even the Wu Kingdom would be in danger of being destroyed. Therefore, bringing Chen Dingman, who came to the capital to participate in the abdication ceremony, alive to Chen Mo was the only way Chu Zijin could think of to rescue his relatives. Only the favor of saving his father could make the cold-hearted Chen Mo take action for the Chu family. As for the marriage contract they made before they embarked on the immortal path, it was just a joke. The experience in the blood robe sex room had long made Chu Zijin understand this, and also saw clearly Chen Mo's heart of not being tempted by women. Don't worry, Lord Hao, everything Zijin said just now is true. I will escort you all the way to southern Xinjiang and will not let the thieves of Wu State hurt you. But after you return to southern Xinjiang, please mention this to senior brother Chen, just to save a trace of my Chu family's bloodline. Chu Zijin felt a warning sign in his heart, and felt that a big hand was clutching his heart in the dark. He guessed that the enemy from Wu State was about to arrive, and he was afraid that he would be in danger, so he hurriedly told Chen Dingman his expectations. Chu Zijin's eyes were red with redness, and as a princess in distress, she was in tears. After hearing Chu Zijin's heartfelt plea, Chen Dingman changed his mind about the Chu family. He accepted Chu Zijin's favor, and his idea of killing his mortal enemy Chu Qilin faded a little. The Jingnan Marquisate and the Jinayan royal family have been fighting overtly and covertly for many years, but there is not much blood feud between the two sides. They are all fights between their hidden men and spies. As for the hostility between the two, it is nothing more than one side trying to cut down the vassal and the other side not willing to be slaughtered. It is purely a hostility caused by different positions. Now, with such an excellent son like Chen Mo, Chen Dingman is already the undisputed winner in this duel, and it is easier to let go of his obsession. The latest novel is first published on 69 Shuba. The winner should be magnanimous and not have to humiliate Chu Qilin or even the entire Chu royal family to death. Chen Dingman accepted the favor of Chu Zijin's warning and let his old rival Chu Qilin go, letting the loser watch him sit on his original throne. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that this was a very interesting thing. Of course, the premise of all this is, the Chu family is honestly a group of rich men who live a life of drunkenness and dreams, and give up the daydream of cultivating a practitioner to turn over. As for when he grows old, Chen Anan will kill all the descendants of the Chu family, but it has nothing to do with Chen Dingman. As long as he lives in peace and happiness while he's alive, that's enough. Thinking of this, Chen Dingman felt relieved and planned to let Chu Qilin go. In order to let Chu Zijin do his best to escort him back to southern Xinjiang, he even patted his chest in front of thousands of Jingnan army and swore, "Zijin, don't worry, your father and I don't have any deep hatred. It was those shameless ministers who provoked the relationship between us and fanned the flames everywhere, causing my mansion and your Chu family to be like water and fire. If we were really mortal enemies, we would have fought each other for so many years." Chen Dingman first denied that he had always been ambitious to plot the throne of Jinayan, and put all the responsibility on the royalists. Then he made a boast, "I came to Beijing this time just to hand over the imperial power and protect Jinayan from turmoil, but I don't have the slightest intention of killing your Chu family. I can swear to heaven. When I see Ma, I will persuade him to be kind to others and treat the Chu family well. If he doesn't listen, he will cut him down for you." Chen Mo's face darkened when he heard this not far away. It seemed that he had been the bad guy in vain. He had to bear all the blame. Chapter 186 Siege. Ling. The ground is vibrating at an abnormal frequency. It is suspected to be caused by the movement of a large group of heavily armed soldiers. There are vibrations in all directions, including the southeast, northwest, and northeast. The host has been surrounded. The initial escape route is as follows. Chen Mo was clinging to the high wall. When he heard the warning from the chip, his heart tightened and he secretly said, "The Wu Kingdom has taken action." According to the intelligence received by Chu Zijin, it must be that the masters of the Wu Kingdom sneaked into the palace, kidnapped Chu Qilin, and mobilized a large army in the capital in the name of the Lord of Jinayan to besiege and kill Chen Dingman. Chen Mo has been slow to show up, which has made the people of the Wu Kingdom give up the plan to kill him. As a second choice, they will attack Chen Dingman first. If there is no Marquis of Jingnan, Chen Annan's prestige is insufficient, and he cannot integrate the military and people's hearts of the Jinayan kingdom. In this way, the conspiracy of the Wu Kingdom to manipulate the Chu family to indirectly rule the Jinayan kingdom will not be hindered. Hua ta 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 neat and powerful footsteps, mixed with a dull sound of armor blades hitting each other, converged on the Jingnan army that had not yet left the Temple of Heaven. Chen Dingman had rich battlefield experience. He observed the continuous flow of steel from all directions from the height of the Temple of Heaven, and judged that the number of enemies was at least 10 times that of his own. His face was gloomy, but he did not order the Jingnan army, which was ready to go, to break out immediately. Instead, he changed his mind temporarily and asked the entire army to form a battle array on the spot. Under the order of the Marquis, with the Temple of Heaven as the center of the circle, the archers stood on a high place, bent their bows and put arrows on them, and the heavy infantry lined up at the bottom of the Temple of Heaven, waiting for the siege of the capital camp. Even if the whole army is annihilated, I will break all your teeth. Chen Dingman looked at the soldiers of the capital camp who were gathering like ants, and spat fiercely, forcibly suppressing the anxiety of being trapped in a desperate situation. Chu Qilin is also a waste. He actually handed over the command of the capital camp so easily. If Jinayan falls into his hands, the country will be destroyed and the people will be exterminated. Chen Dingman climbed up to a high place and looked far away. He concentrated his mind and energy and saw from afar that there were many unfamiliar faces guarding around Chu Qilin's carriage that was following the army. As an opponent who had fought for many years, Chen Dingman knew the strength of the warriors under the Chu royal family. With just a glance, he knew that these unfamiliar faces were not Chu Qilin's men. I'm afraid that old Chu was really kidnapped by the bandits of the Wu Kingdom, but this Fang guy's shameless. Seeing how he was working hard to mobilize troops, he must have switched to the Wu Kingdom. The commander of the capital camp who commanded the army to surround the Temple of Heaven was the leader of the royalist party under Chu Qilin, Grand Sima Fang Zhen. His legitimate son Fang Yuanyang had caused Chen Mo a little trouble at the beginning of his immortal journey, but he was unlucky. He died early in the eastern wilderness in order to peel off the skin of a lion corpse. It is unknown whether his father Fang Zheng knew the truth. Judging from his current performance, he was worried that the Chu family would be buried with him, so when the Wu state master sneaked into the palace, he took the opportunity to change his master. Now he had to deal with Chen Dingman, who had always been at odds with him. Fang Zheng commanded the capital camp and worked even harder, so as to give his new master a beautiful letter of surrender. Although he was old and his temples were gray, he stood on the chariot and bent over to cough from time to time, but Fang Zheng still supported his old body with a red face. He excitedly instructed the messenger to wave the military flag and arrange the gradually gathering soldiers in an orderly manner to the most suitable place for siege. This meticulous and flawless command ability made Chen Dingman, a veteran general who had been on the battlefield for a long time, admire him. He is upright and honest, leaving no loopholes. He doesn't think about making a surprise attack and defeating the enemy with one blow. He is really facing an upright army, using the majority to bully the minority, and there is a steady stream of soldiers from the capital camp coming from the capital. What Fang Zheng is least afraid of is this kind of frontal combat. Normally, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes, Chen Dingman will be dead. Occupying the geographical advantage of the capital, Fang Zheng doesn't care even if it is a 1-for-10 exchange tactic. There will always be a moment to wear down the Jingnan army. My lord, there are so many bandits, hurry up. Please order the Blood Wolf Guards to be the vanguard, and the Jingnan army to follow closely behind, and fight their way out. At the last step, the two of us will take action to help you escape. The enemy troops gathered more and more, and even began to prepare defensive fortifications such as Chevaux de Frise and thorns 100 feet outside the Temple of Heaven. Yu Gong was very anxious, and he didn't care about the red tape, and urged Chen Dingman to break out quickly. Don't panic, everyone. My son has already ambushed nearby. As long as we create an opportunity for him to capture the bandits and the king, even if the enemy army has 100,000, we can defeat it in one blow. Chen Dingman was calm and composed. How could he not see that defending the Temple of Heaven would only lead to death? Without Chen Mo's secret message to encourage him, how could he dare to order a battle array on the spot? Only by replacing all the Jingnan army under his command with 1,000 Blood Wolf Guards can he compete with the entire Beijing camp. Chu Zijin, Mo Bai, and Yu Gong breathed a sigh of relief when these words came out. They thought that the old Marquis was crazy about becoming the emperor and was determined to die on the Temple of Heaven even if he died. If that was the case, they could only knock him out and forcibly take him away from the capital. But in this way, the help of the Jingnan army could not be counted on. They might not obey the orders of the three practitioners without the order of the Marquis. The Jingnan army did not move, giving the capital camp enough time to deploy troops and array, and surrounded the Temple of Heaven in the middle layer by layer. For a while, the nearby houses, courtyards, and alleys were requisitioned by the local soldiers guarding the capital. As for the people inside, they had already scattered like birds and beasts, and wisely stayed away from this fierce place. Even the young man who dominated the neighborhood, the dandy who walked his dog and played with birds, and the chivalrous knights did not dare to lie on the wall and watch. They all hid in the house in corners with their tails between their legs, trembling. The sword and shield soldiers were the wings, the spearmen were the arrows, and the crossbowmen were the last. The simple but most practical city battle formation was performed by Feng Zheng in a regular manner. This battle formation, just like his name, was upright and conservative. It strictly followed the military books of the past dynasties, without any personal modification by Feng Zheng. Although it seemed dull, it was not easy to find a flaw. The latest novel was first published on the 69th book bar. These were the refined military formations summed up by countless ancestors after thousands of battles. They were widely used and were especially suitable for the large-scale capital camp. This one move showed that Feng Zheng was cunning and treacherous. In addition, the soldiers in the capital camp had good morale and regarded Chen Dingman as a rebel. They were determined to repay the emperor's grace and kill the rebel. After all, they were the army under the emperor's feet, and their loyalty to the Chu family was acceptable. Moreover, as ordinary soldiers, they did not know the secret that Chen Mo alone could destroy the Chu royal family. They only thought that Chen Ding was leading his troops into the capital and provoking the royal family. Because the turmoil caused by Chu Qilin's kidnapping did not spread, the great Sima Fengxian, who has above 1 person and below 10,000 people in the court, suddenly rebelled against the Wu kingdom, making the power transfer in the capital unusually smooth. The lower-level army was not affected by the aftermath of this coup. Therefore, the enemy army at this time, Jinan Kingdom, had the righteousness in hand. The commander who commanded the entire army was not a mediocre person, and there were also Wu Kingdom masters raiding the formation. Compared with the past, its combat power has only increased and not decreased, which is quite tricky. For the Jingnan army, which was defending the Temple of Heaven and was at an absolute disadvantage in numbers, it was a great pressure. Of course, on the battlefield where the black clouds pressed down on the city and wanted to destroy it, there was no figure of Yu Linglang in golden armor. With their drunkenness, they had long been frightened by the murderous aura of the two sides of the confrontation and fled far away. Even the Wu Kingdom looked down on the combat power of these young soldiers and would rather let them rest at home than join the army and cause trouble for their side. Kill the southern barbarians and quell the rebels. Whoever cuts off Chen Dingman's head will be granted the title of Marquess of Wanhu. Kill, kill, kill. Shouts of killing were heard everywhere, and the bounty was quite generous. The Temple of Heaven was like a reef in the vast ocean, which could be submerged and shattered by the stormy waves at any time. As for Chen Dingman, he became a gold mountain and silver mountain in the eyes of countless low-level soldiers. With greedy eyes, they wished to divide him into thousands of pieces. Chapter 187 Southern Barbarians. Southern Barbarians, it seems that these local soldiers in the capital have a lot of resentment towards us. Chen Dingman heard the excited shouts of the soldiers on the opposite side, savored the 3 words Southern Barbarians, and laughed at himself. This derogatory name is a derogatory name used by the Jingnan army and even the people of southern Xinjiang to refer to the southern barbarian tribes in the miasma forest. Unexpectedly, once they went north, the situation changed, and the Jingnan army became the vulgar southern barbarians in the mouths of tens of thousands of people in the capital camp. When the two armies faced each other, the soldiers below began to talk dirty and mentally attack the enemy before the battle. For the Jingnan army from the barbarian land of southern Xinjiang, the soldiers of the capital camp called them southern barbarians, southern Xinjiang rebels, and poor mountains and bad waters in the south. They were very happy to curse. In order to ensure absolute loyalty to the Chu royal family and prevent them from defecting to Chen Dingman when facing the Jingnan army, the soldiers of the capital camp were all recruited on the spot. At the same time, 3 generations of grandparents and grandchildren were strictly checked, so as a result, 90% of the imperial army soldiers came from the capital area, without a trace of the southern barbarians of southern Xinjiang. Since ancient times, the people at the foot of the imperial city have an innate superior attitude, and they look down on the surrounding Jinayan people from the bottom of their hearts. The soldiers in the capital camp are even more intense due to their single composition. With their status as imperial army and central army, they naturally look down on border troops like the Jingnan army. Southern barbarians is the best derogatory term that comes to mind. In fact, even for soldiers who also come from the capital area, there is a clear chain of contempt between their own people. The closer to the imperial city, the pure capital soldiers who were born at the feet of the emperor and look up to the red walls and green tiles, the more they looked down on the farmers' soldiers drawn from the remote rural areas of the capital area. But today, when facing the common enemy of the Jingnan army, the soldiers of the entire Beijing camp, for the first time, shared the same hatred and enemy, regardless of region or military rank, and shouted the word Southern barbarians in great unity, expressing the deep disdain of the people of Beijing for this group of border barbarians. Such a war of words is understandable. For many years, the Jingnan Marquis's mansion has been fighting against the Jinayan court as a separatist warlord, and has long turned Nanjiang into its most loyal supporter. This kind of hard power that dominates one side has also supported the countless people of Nanjiang who came to the capital to make a living. As soldiers guarding the capital, they often feel the arrogance of people from Nanjiang when they walk on the street. Although they don't feel inferior, they rarely have the sense of superiority of the identity of under the feet of the emperor and imperial guards. Now, they finally have the opportunity to fight with the Jingnan army on the battlefield, and use force to shut up and kill the arrogant southern barbarians on the opposite side, and relieve the anger accumulated over the years. The soldiers of the Beijing camp united tacitly and vowed not to let go of a soldier or a horse from southern Xinjiang. The Beijing camp was large in number, and the vulgar military curses, as noisy as tens of thousands of crows, immediately aroused the counter-insults of the Jingnan army. But they did not yell back, because the number of the Jingnan army was too small, and the sound of shouting in unison would inevitably not be able to suppress the Beijing curse on the opposite side, which would only waste physical strength and fall into the evil plan of the old and young masters in the capital. The response of the Jingnan army was very simple. They only showed a disdainful expression on their lips, whispered to their companions, and occasionally extended their middle and index fingers to point at the soldiers from the capital who were stiff-necked, blushing and shouting, and intermittently let out a series of mocking chuckles. From a distance, the calm and self-assured Jingnan army looked like a group of leisurely rich people who came to listen to Beijing opera, laughing wantonly, while the soldiers from the capital camp who were ready to curse were the amusing clowns on the stage. In contrast, the latter looked extremely funny. This ingenious way of counterattack quickly interrupted the Beijing curses of the soldiers on the opposite side, making the name of Southern barbarian weaker and weaker. After such an interesting seasoning, the battle-hardened Jingnan army soldiers also somewhat relieved the tension of being surrounded. Under the layers of enemy surveillance, they completed the pressure release and emotional regulation, and faced the upcoming siege with the fullest spirit. The fangs of the Tiger and Wolf division finally showed. Above the Jingnan army, which had only 3,000 soldiers, a shocking sharp soldier momentum slowly rose. As they put away their chattering and laughing mentality and their faces became cold and solemn, they put great psychological pressure on the Beijing camp, which was far from completing the siege. The Jingnan army, which strictly followed orders and was serious, was like a lean cheetah lurking in the grass, waiting for the right time to jump out and give the opponent a fatal blow. Although the Beijing camp had a large number of people, they were also full of people and had many mouths. They were far behind the strictly following orders Jingnan army. When they saw the opponent's amazing performance, they couldn't help but panic. The swords, spears, swords and halberds that the opponent held in front of him, neatly arranged and thrust forward, reflected the cold light under the early morning sun, which also made the killing atmosphere on the battlefield even heavier. Even though the capital camp was not a waste army like the Yulin Lang, they also trained constantly on weekdays, often with tens of thousands of people on the battlefield, on a large scale, but they had never experienced such a large-scale fight with real swords and guns. How can you grow without experience? The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Most of the troubles of Jinayan country are in the southern border, and they are blocked outside the border by the southern barbarians looked down upon by the capital camp. As the forbidden army guarding the capital, how can they have the experience of blood on every sword, 9 out of 10 deaths? The army is the weapon of the country. Only the tempering of blood and fire can cultivate the elite division of the Jingnan army that has survived hundreds of battles. In comparison, the pampered capital camp is far behind. No matter how many there are, sheep are still sheep, and they can never become tigers, even if the leader is a cunning old fox. Fang Zheng held the crossbar of the chariot tightly with both hands, his face heavy. He was familiar with military books, and naturally knew that the soldiers under his command had been intimidated by the evil spirit of the Jingnan army, and they were afraid. Waste. Most of the national treasury income that falls on you every year is to raise such weak shrimps. Alice. Cursing in his heart, Fang Zheng knew that he could not wait any longer, and waved the flag, signaling the whole army to launch an attack in batches. Although the airtight siege has not yet been formed, he can no longer care about so much. The first blow is strong, the second is weak, and the third is exhausted. If we don't rely on the only advantage of large numbers to continue to weaken the rising military momentum of the Jingnan army with human lives, the Jingxi camp may really be blocked and break out of the siege by a charge of the Jingnan army. Chapter 188, that's it? You have to fight for the young and old men in the capital. I have put all my life and property on you. Under the military order, a steady stream of imperial guards rushed to the Temple of Heaven. Fang Zhang leaned against the crossbar of the chariot, muttering to himself, hoping that the capital camp could quickly defeat the Jingnan army and prove his worth to the arrogant Wu people. After switching to the Wu kingdom, only through Chen Dingman's head, he could have a certain voice with a humble identity of a traitor, replace the Chu family to control the Jinayan kingdom, and shine for the grand cause of the Wu kingdom to unify the subcontinent. Turning his head to look at Chu Qilin's carriage, Fang Zhang's eyes revealed a hint of sinister coldness, and he sneered, I have been sandwiched between you and Chen Dingman, and have been a chess piece for decades. My life and death are in the hands of others. This time, I will not only overturn this chessboard, but also personally send you two chess players on the road together. The road to the underworld is long. You two old rivals will not feel lonely if you walk together. Look how thoughtful I am. Not long ago, Fang Zhang witnessed with his own eyes that the people from Wu State went deep into the Chu Palace, as if they were in an empty space, and they were invincible and easily controlled Chu Qilin. In order to survive and to go further, he did not hesitate to rebel. To deal with Chen Dingman, who already had a grudge, he did everything he could, and was not afraid of Chen Mo, the immortal master, for revenge. He did not believe that Chen Mo, who had only practiced in the immortal sect for 4 or 5 years, plus Chu Zijin, who is about the same level of cultivation, could stop the crazy Wu led by Wu State. When Fang Zhang thought of that terrifying figure, he was so frightened that his body trembled, his legs went limp, and he had to hold on to the chariot railing with both hands to avoid collapsing to the ground. Huh? Slowly exhaling the foul air in his chest and abdomen, Fang Zhang's courage recovered a little. He adjusted his facial expression, turned respectfully to the Wu State master who was guarding the general's flag, and begged, please help the envoy of the upper country to tear open the formation of the Jingnan army. The Wu State masters who went to Jinayan State were all wearing soft armor and lightly equipped, covering only the chest, abdomen, back and other vital parts, leaving their strong limbs bare. Although they were wearing cool clothes, the few standing in the front were calm and composed in the face of the oncoming rain of arrows. They moved slightly and dodged one arrow after another, without the corners of their clothes being torn at all. When they really couldn't dodge any more, they moved their feet lightly, changed positions, stood with their hands on their chests, and looked down on the Jingnan army. This calmness and control made Fang Zhang full of confidence, and he asserted, with only these less than 10 martial arts masters, they can break through the Jingnan army's formation. The enemy army is only 3,000 in number, which is just the right number for high-level martial artists to exert their personal strength. Fang Zhang lowered his status and begged them to take action, in order to use the Wu Kingdom's people as the spearhead and defeat the Jingnan army in one blow. It's a small country with few people. It can't even handle such a small situation. I don't know what the commander-in-chief likes about this Fang guy. He granted him the position of acting ruler of Jinayan Kingdom out of the law. This old man can't even handle the Jingnan army. How can he manage Jinayan Kingdom? Forget it, stop talking nonsense and get to work. After all our hard work was betrayed by that useless guy Yang Pajin. Who knew that he, as the commander of the Kangling army, was killed by the second son of the Jingnan Marcus Mansion in the midst of thousands of troops. It seems his name is Chen Mo. His own father has been surrounded by us, but he still doesn't show up. It seems that he is a person who seeks fame. Let's not say anything more, let's do it. The strong men of the Wu Kingdom, with a leisurely look as if they were sightseeing, ignored the iron-green expression of Fang Zhang beside them, and chatted and laughed freely in the midst of thousands of troops, belittling Jinayan Kingdom, the Kangling army, and the Jingnan Marcus Mansion. Wu country has a large number of warriors, and there are quite a few high-level warriors of the 7th rank. Competition between them is everywhere. For the position of the army leader who leads an army, many people are scheming against each other. The people present are confident that they are not inferior to Yang Pajin. They have also thought about raising 10,000 Kangling troops to sweep Jinayan, But they don't want to be unable to compete with Yang Pajin's network of relationships and be robbed of their positions by him. As a result, the Kangling army leader, who had just taken office, died in the hands of Chen Mo. His former competitors who came to Jinan to clean up his ass naturally belittled Yang Pajin to the extreme. The dead will not refute. The Chu royal family's inability to resist made these Wu country people who came to Jinan country to die for the first time in waves completely arrogant. Even the Jingnan army, which was neat and fierce at the Temple of Heaven, was not taken seriously by them. With a flick of his wrist, his muscles and bones rang together, making the crackling sound of frying beans, with extraordinary momentum. After showing off, the so-called masters of Wu country tapped the ground with their feet and attacked. They snaked forward, half-bent their upper bodies, lowered their center of gravity, and moved forward close to the ground. All the Wu people kept the same posture and approached the Blood Wolf guards at the foot of the altar of heaven. Above their heads, there was a dense rain of arrows. The sharp whistling sound blew away the buns on the tops of the Wu people's heads, and their black hair fluttered in the wind. The most thrilling arrows were close to their scalps and passed by. However, the strong men of Wu country were not panicked at all. They turned a blind eye to the danger at hand and moved forward confidently. The latest novels are first published on Liuji 9 Shuba. This is their intuition as high-level warriors. The arrows shot by ordinary soldiers did not cause a tingling sensation on their skin, so it was impossible for them to fall on people, so there was no need to dodge. The Wu Kingdom's strong men, a total of 8 people, were scattered at intervals. When they ran close to the ground, they constantly used the physical cover of the soldiers in the capital camp to quickly approach the Blood Wolf guard. A martial arts strong man, breaking the surface with a point? Ridiculous, pathetic, and lamentable. Chen Dingman was at the highest point in the center of the Temple of Heaven, half squatting and half sitting on a raised surface of the heavenly sacrificed bluestone, with one hand leaning on the Zhu man's sword that had been passed down for dozens of generations, and with one hand pointing at the Wu Kingdom masters who were rushing around, and shook his head helplessly. He placed the most elite Blood Wolf guards in front of the formation to deal with these martial arts masters. Without Chen Dingman's command in the middle, the well-trained Blood Wolf guards, with a small sergeant as the core, took the initiative to leave the formation and surrounded the Wu Kingdom martial arts masters who were close at hand. A series of dull thumping sounds, mixed with colorful auras. The Wu Guo masters who rushed forward with full confidence were suddenly surrounded by the elite Blood Wolf guards. Unable to kill the sergeant who served as a meat shield with one blow, the Wu Guo strongman had martial arts skills, but was entangled by the sergeant in turn, and could not spare his hands and feet to kill the ordinary Blood Wolf guards around him, so he suffered more and more minor injuries. A tiger cannot stand up to a pack of wolves, let alone a pack of wolves wearing hard and flexible leather armor. In the waves of consumption, 8 high-level warriors who could easily tear through a 100-man army formation did not kill anyone, but were cut off layer by the Blood Wolf guards from their dense internal energy and even their vigorous blood. Chapter 189, Reunion of Father and Son. The Blood Wolf guards' superior weapons and armor, tacit cooperation between their comrades, and physiques that surpass those of ordinary elite soldiers, with their numbers overpowering the few, immediately made the arrogant Wu Kingdom strongmen suffer a heavy loss, refreshing their basic understanding of secular armies. Impossible. How could it be? I don't believe it. Puff. Just as the Wu Kingdom came to exclaim in surprise, the Blood Wolf guards who surrounded him seized the opportunity and stabbed him in the waist, chest, lower body, calf and other parts of his body, spitting out blood mist. He was just a cheap mouth, and he said one more question, but in return he vomited blood. As high-level warriors, how could the Wu Kingdom strongmen have ever felt such humiliation? However, in the last journey of their lives, they no longer had the opportunity to correct their carelessness and underestimation of the enemy. One wrong step, all wrong steps. Once they were surrounded by the Blood Wolf guards, they could only sink into the quagmire, and be exhausted by the last wisp of internal energy and the last drop of blood by the wolf knives. Because of the protection of the Blood Wolf leather armor, although the Blood Wolf guards were repelled again and again, they could quickly calm down their blood and energy, and pounce on them again with dragon vigor and tiger ferocity. With the advantage of numbers, they did not give the so-called martial arts masters who could break the army by themselves a chance to catch their breath and breathe. If this continues, we will all die. Where are the soldiers of Jinan? Are they all dead? Come quickly. Previously, they had disdained the soldiers of the capital camp, But after being in a desperate situation, these arrogant Wu people began to look forward to others to save them. This time, they learned their lesson and did not speak out. They only prayed silently in their hearts, which saved a mouthful of blood. However, even so, the warriors of Wu state could only hold out for 100 breaths under the continuous offensive of the Blood Wolf Guards. However, the large and powerful capital camp that they had been thinking about never appeared. These soldiers from the capital were firmly blocked by the remaining Blood Wolf Guards dozens of feet away from the Wu people. The distance is so great, and the strong swords and hard armor of the Blood Wolf Guards have forcibly separated the two sides by a natural moat. Not enough to do things, but more than enough to do things badly, hateful. Fang Zhang was on the chariot, always paying attention to the slightest movement on the battlefield. Seeing the situation of the strong men of Wu state alone and deeply surrounded, he couldn't help but curse. If they could mix in with the ordinary soldiers of the capital camp and wait until the two armies were in full hand-to-hand combat before taking action, they would never end up like this. On the contrary, they could use the cover of the cannon-fodder-friendly army to kill the Blood Wolf Guards one by surprise. If it was a one-on-one fight, even a well-equipped martial arts master of the 7th, 8th, or 9th grade could kill the lone ordinary Blood Wolf Guard soldier with a sneak attack. Fang Zhang's heart was filled with hatred. However, there was no regret medicine in the world. Because the Wu Kingdom's strong men underestimated the enemy and advanced rashly, they were out of touch with the follow-up large forces, resulting in the two groups of people only exerting 50% of their strength when combined. Therefore, a dramatic scene appeared near the Temple of Heaven. The Jingnan army, which was at an absolute disadvantage in terms of numbers and the number of top martial arts masters, was at an absolute disadvantage. With the support of the Blood Wolf Guards, which were divided into two, they actually blocked the first wave of charge of the capital camp and the Wu Kingdom's strong men. In fact, because of the recent battle, the Blood Wolf Guards were full of physical strength. With stronger individual qualities, leather armor and wolf knives that crushed the opponent by several steps, they actually had a tendency to push the front line of the capital camp back. These soldiers from the Beijing area had few opportunities to see blood on the battlefield. They were frightened when they suddenly faced the Blood Wolf Guards, who killed the enemy as smoothly as cutting vegetables. As their comrades fell one after another in front of them, they showed great fear in their eyes. Devil. Blood demon, an unkillable monster. Is it a monster? Trembling exclamations rang out one after another among the soldiers in the Beijing camp. This disturbance of cowardice had the momentum to sweep the entire vanguard army in just 10 breaths. Pass on my military order, Cloud Guards, family generals, all press forward. Supervisory team, anyone who dares to retreat half a step, regardless of rank, will be executed immediately. The two desperate military orders were passed down by Fang Zhang without hesitation. Cloud Guards was an elite division that only obeyed Chu Kilin. Because the Wu people controlled the Jinyan Lord with a spellbinding method, Fang Zhang, as the spokesperson of Wu, also indirectly obtained the command of Wu's Cloud Guards. As soon as he saw that the situation on the front line was unfavorable, he put this trump card on the line, and sent out more than 100 of Wu's carefully trained family generals. Fang Zhang firmly believed, as long as he could survive this wave of offensive by the Blood Wolf Guards and cut off their counterattack, even if the Wu Kingdom's strong men were annihilated, in the end, the Blood Wolf Guards would not have much physical strength left, and the capital camp could rely on the absolute advantage in numbers to wear out the enemy. Human power is sometimes limited. On the battlefield dominated by cold weapons, the side with an absolute disadvantage in numbers can only catch a glimmer of hope for victory by defeating the opponent's formation and knocking out the spirit of the lower-level soldiers with one blow. The so-called 3,000 breaking 300,000 is just relying on the initial thunderbolt to defeat the courage of the enemy soldiers, so that they can win so exaggeratedly. The latest novels are first published on the 6th 9-book bar. If everyone is determined, the Blood Wolf Guards, no matter how elite they are, and no matter how well equipped they are, every soldier in the capital camp can drown them all with a spit. Fang Zhang tightly grasped the horizontal bar in front of him with both hands, and subconsciously leaned forward, like a gambler who has completely lost all his money at the gambling table. His upper and lower lips trembled slightly, and he silently repeated the word "must win." At this moment, the prestige of the Grand Marshal, who was in the court, commanding all the civil and military officials, was gone, and only a poor hunchbacked old man who was begging for the favor of the bitch of fate was left. If you have the time to pray, you should worry about yourself. A ghostly voice sounded from behind Fang Zhang. and suddenly, he felt a slippery snake-like object wrapped around his neck, licking his left earlobe with a hissing sound. A chill spread along the coccyx and all the way to Fang Zhang's crown. He felt a bone-chilling cold. "Do you want to know how your son died?" Chen Mo teased the trapped prey and laughed softly. Around the chariot where the two were, there were corpses of soldiers from the capital camp with foam at the mouth and eyes rolled up. They were all killed silently one by the dream snake that played with their dreams. Because the souls of ordinary mortal soldiers were too weak, even when they were awake, they could not resist the dream invasion of the dream snake. In broad daylight, their souls were torn apart alive by it. Fang Zhang's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. He turned his head with difficulty. From Chen Mo's sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, he vaguely saw the shadow of Chen Dingman. He guessed that he was the second son of the Jingnan Marcus Mansion, who was rumored to be cultivating immortals. He couldn't help but smile miserably. The father is honored by the son. What virtue and ability does Chen Man have? As smart as Sima, Fang Zhang immediately guessed that the death of his legitimate son Fang Yuanyang, who also embarked on the immortal path, must be related to Chen Mo. Without saying much, he left a sentence that martial madman will not let you go, then closed his eyes and died. However, it was the bone-chilling coldness of the dream snake that was too strong, and it froze the already old and weak Fang Zhang to death. Looking at Fang Zhang, who fell limply on the crossbar of the chariot, Chen Mo spread his hands innocently. "I really didn't kill your son. He was so naughty that he insisted on skinning a dead lion and was blown to death by the lion's corpse. Do you blame me?" If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Qi Rin Arm. You're finally here. I didn't wait in vain. When Fang Zhang died of old age and Chen Mo was about to get off the chariot to cut off the banner of the capital camp, his ears moved slightly and he heard a voice of suppressed ecstasy. "Ling. Dangerous creatures are found, and a flying object is moving towards the host at high speed. Please stay away from the chariot immediately." The chip's prompt and Chen Mo's evasive action occurred at the same time, without any order. As a high-level Kigan practitioner, his keen consciousness gave him a mysterious spiritual perception. When this voice just sounded, he immediately sensed the danger, kicked the ground with both feet, and immediately dodged to the side. Facts have proved that Chen Mo's instinctive reaction is correct. As soon as he jumped off the carriage, a long barricade hit the chariot. Bang! Under the blessing of the impact, the wheels of the command chariot made of fine iron shattered, and the body of the body tore and sank, like a warhorse that could not bear the weight, and it was pressed on the ground with a puff. The chariot was flattened, and its surface area suddenly became 2 or 3 times the original. As for the 6 poor horses pulling the chariot, they had already become the flesh pads of the body of the chariot, and their bones and flesh turned into mud, without even leaving a whimper. It was a pity for Fang Zhang, as a great Sima, to die in the battle in the same tragic way. The power of a throw was so terrifying. Chen Mo, who had escaped the disaster, turned his head, and his hawk-like eyes instantly fixed on a one-armed man who was waving his right hand and smiling at him 800 steps away. "Chen Mo, Chen Xianqi, Wu Lei, I am honored to meet you." The sound transmission was secret, and although the two were still far apart, the whispering voice was extremely clear in Chen Mo's ears. Next to Wu Lei, there was a barricade that was exactly the same as the one that fell from the sky before. Obviously, the thunder attack just now was thrown out by him with a single arm, which showed that the explosive power in his fine iron right arm was called the martial arts unicorn arm. Ling. Wu Lei, a peak 9th grade Shineman warrior, half-step Wu Zun, essence. 9.7, inner breath. 9.9, divine essence. 7.1, can threaten the life of the host. Please go all out to prevent being knocked down by the opponent. Wu Zun. Chen Mo read out this name symbolizing the peak of martial arts in surprise. In places with abundant spiritual energy such as the West Coast, warriors are naturally at a disadvantage when facing Kigan practitioners. This is not only due to the ever-changing and easy-to-use various attribute spells of Kigan practitioners, but also due to their equipment bonus. Magic pills, spiritual pets, formations, talismans. All these external things derived from spiritual energy give Kigan practitioners the power to easily crush a single warrior. However, There's only one type of warrior who can break the curse of warriors are far inferior to Kigen practitioners with the ultimate physical strength, condensed inner breath, and tenacious martial arts will, that is Wu Zun. The master of martial arts, the existence above the 9th grade Shaman warrior. Wu Lei, according to the chip's judgment, has already stepped half a foot into the door of this martial arts realm, which is a great threat to Chen Mo, who has not yet reached the great perfection of the key training period. In particular, his three-dimensional data are all higher than Chen Mo. Internal breath is analogous to Qi Yuan, although the same units of internal breath, essence, and spirit are limited by the warrior's single means of fighting the enemy, and the destructive power and diversity they exert are slightly inferior to those of the key training. A candidate for martial honor like Wu Lei, based on his personal martial arts cultivation alone, is also a two-character king who can open a government and build a garrison in the Kyanitian Empire. If he goes one step further, he will be a martial honor who can resist the supernatural power cultivator with the body of a mere mortal warrior, and will not bow to the emperor and be conferred the title of the pillar of the country. The Kyanitian Empire has been established for 1,000 years. With the assistance of dragon energy and the cooperation of the army, there have been a few cases where martial honor masters have encircled and successfully killed supernatural power cultivators. Therefore, martial honor is the only hope for the mortal empire to fight against practitioners. Chen Mo, you really didn't disappoint me. You are so young, but you have such a cultivation that makes me excited. Even in the overseas immortals, I am afraid that it is rare. Wu Lei stared at Chen Mo with his eyes like torches. He stretched out his scarlet tongue and licked along his upper and lower lips carefully, just like washing hands before a meal, showing a morbid ritual sense. Do you know? I have an intuition that has saved me many times since I was a child and has predicted it to me many times. At this moment, it tells me that as long as I kill you, I can step into the martial lord, just like my grandfather. Tell me, should I believe in this intuition? Just like a chat between old friends, Wu Lei's tone is very gentle and intimate, but in Chen Mo's ears, it is a death-threatening note from the King of Hell. Knowing this person, he has already relied on himself, and he will not stop until he dies. The creepy feeling that he has not felt for many years rose from Chen Mo's coccyx. Wu Lei, the one-armed man, brought him a long-lost sense of crisis. Crazy Wu, the name that old man Feng Zheng gave you is really appropriate. Wu Lei's first impression on Chen Mo was that he was a madman who is desperate to find an opponent and to make further progress. In his red eyes, there was only himself as a stepping stone, and he had no sense of the overall situation of whether the Beijing camp could defeat the Jingnan army and hold Chu Qilin hostage to control Jinan. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Killing Chen Mo is Wu Lei's only goal. In the battlefield full of killing sounds, Wu Lei only focused on Chen Mo, his blood and ki surged, and his martial arts will firmly locked on Chen Mo. After confessing his heart, he picked up another barricade with one arm and rushed towards Chen Mo. The tiny warrior's body was holding up a barricade that was as big as a small city gate. Moreover, Wu Lei's only remaining right hand was as steady as a rock, and even his muscles did not bulge, which made Chen Mo's pupils shrink. He thought something was wrong. This man has one arm. There must be something strange. Chip, scan Wu Lei's right arm, analyze the abnormality. As soon as the dynamic visual mode was turned on, Wu Lei's unicorn arm was instantly revealed in Chen Mo's eyes. This slender, smooth arm like a beautiful jade, with clear edges and corners, the proportions of the upper and lower arms are extremely harmonious, and there is not a strand of excess hair on the surface. It is so white that there is no flaw, which makes people exclaim, "This arm should only exist in heaven," and it is rare to see it in the world. This perfect arm should only exist in the pens of painters, the chants of poets, and the poems of literati, but it should not appear in the vulgar, dirty and turbid world. Wu Lei's perfect right arm, compared to the rest of his body, especially the dark chest covered with knife marks and luxuriant hair, looks out of place, like a celestial arm stolen by a filthy mortal and attached to his ugly body. Ling. Wu Lei's right arm, the blood and internal breath are highly condensed, and even has the tendency to replace his heart, lungs, and dantian as the center of energy flow in the body. It is recommended that the host stay away from this right arm. Feeling Chen Mo's eyes falling on his most beloved arm, Wu Lei showed a trace of pride, and boasted in a crazy tone, "In order to be faithful to one person, I cut off my left arm with my own hands, otherwise, this right arm would not be trained so perfectly." The chip felt the commotion of Wu Lei's right arm and issued a warning. Chen Mo followed his words and flew back. Facing a warrior with higher values in all three dimensions than himself, only by using the limited number of spells can the unfavorable situation be reversed. This is also the first time that Chen Mo has taken the initiative to retreat in the face of an enemy since he set foot on the subcontinent. Chapter 191 was restrained? The fierceness in Wu Lei's eyes became stronger and stronger. He shouted at Chen Mo, who was constantly retreating and chanting magic, "If you retreat again, I will crush every bone of Chen Dingman bit by bit. Catch my father first." Chen Mo was not disturbed by the threat of Wu Fengzi. Years of experience in the magic sect had cultivated his calm mind. Especially in the life and death crisis, Chen Mo's heart was as calm as a pool of stagnant water. Any external disturbances and human emotions could not stir up a ripple. In his eyes, there were only pros and cons, life and death. Wu Lei saw Chen Mo continue to retreat, and his fierceness became stronger, but he did not turn to run towards Chen Dingman as he said. This behavior of letting the Kilgan practitioner cast spells calmly is tantamount to suicide for a close-range warrior. The previous threat was just Wu Lei's delusion that Chen Mo would not use magic and face a head-on confrontation. In just this short sentence, Chen Mo's first magic was ready. The story of the dead, a sigh came from Chen Mo's throat, with a sad and mournful mood, echoing endlessly on the battlefield where blood flowed like a river and corpses were everywhere, which was quite appropriate. At his call, the dead bodies lying on the ground, whether they were soldiers from the Jingnan army or the soldiers from the capital camp, all climbed up strangely, stretched out their hands, and grabbed Wu Lei, who was constantly approaching Chen Mo. With his hands stretched out in the air, pieces of flesh that had not yet shriveled kept falling from the bones of the dead bodies. When they touched the corners of Wu Lei's clothes, only pale hand bones were left. On them, there were pale bone spurs protruding one by one. "Get out of here, you dead ghost!" A roar came out of Wu Lei's mouth, and the air around him was rippling. The bones and bone spurs were shaken by this, making a rustling sound, and fell one after another, making a crisp sound of beating banana leaves at night. Well, isn't that right? He is a high-level warrior, this magic is not that weak. Wu Lei rushed forward with countless dead bodies and bones, feeling uneasy about being in danger. He swept the barricade in his right hand without any tricks, just to quickly clear a piece of open space. Bone pieces flew across, and the dead bodies were swept away by Wu Lei like rag dolls. However, the heads of the dead ghosts in the air suddenly made a click sound and turned to Wu Lei in unison. The empty eyes and arms that turned into bones also pointed at Wu Lei, making the sound of fighting on the battlefield 10% smaller. The soldiers of both sides who noticed the strange phenomenon here all tacitly moved away, watching the strange scene of the dead moving again with trembling teeth. The story of the dead Chen Mo repeated again. The dead bodies around Wu Lei all moved their lips slightly, their vocal cords trembled, and made the same sound, creating a gloomy atmosphere that became heavier. Wisps of black gas, accompanied by the melodious music, surged from the corpse and entangled Wu Lei. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The strong corrosive gas quickly spread all over Wu Lei's body, corroding his skin except for his perfect right arm, making the exposed red flesh bumpy and extremely creepy. Wu Lei suffered this disfiguring injury. Every time he swung the chevaux de frise, a ball of blood would be thrown out of his body. Every step forward left a bloody footprint. However, the tough Wu Lei did not groan at the torture of being turned into a blood man. Instead, he licked the bloodstains at the corners of his mouth. The bloody smell aroused his ferocity and he murmured, "Interesting, Master Chen, this is a qualified stepping stone." As soon as the voice fell, Wu Lei's perfect right arm, which was not stained with a trace of dust, was placed horizontally in front of his chest, emitting a hazy blood light. The blood beads that continued to ooze out of his body surface, under the traction of this light of the same color, spontaneously merged into Wu Lei's right arm. An astonishing momentum came from Wu Lei's right arm. Ling. Feel the high-intensity force field, which is the highly substantialized Yang Qi condensed after the internal breath is released. Energy level 13.1. Please stay away quickly. A mini blood-colored Qilin appeared behind Wu Lei. It was his martial arts will. Its lifelike appearance was like a real fierce beast, the blood Qilin. But unlike ordinary martial artists, Wu Lei's martial arts will raised his head and let out a hissing sound, then jumped lightly and landed on his right arm placed horizontally in front of his chest, merging into it like ice and snow melting. After a change, a beautiful tattoo of a blood unicorn appeared on Wu Lei's right arm. Against the backdrop of jade-like skin, It looked extremely handsome and vivid, as if it would jump out of Wu Lei's skin again in the next second. Hey, the latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Wu Lei made a sound with his mouth, and his right arm slowly drew a circle around him. Then, he hung his single arm horizontally and pointed it at Chen Mo. The blood unicorn tattoo on it also turned its head towards Chen Mo, with its mouth slightly open, as if it was shouting the same thing as its owner. It was unbelievable that pure blood and internal energy could possess such spirituality, just like the life talisman nurtured by the cultivators with their heart and blood, and the personal spiritual pets fed with their essence and blood. A shock wave with a hazy blood light radiated from Wu Lei, and the strongest point was directly pointed at Chen Mo. The first thing it came into contact with was the corrosive black gas that enveloped Wu Lei's body. It was triggered by the story of the dead, and gathered all kinds of negative emotions of the dead on the battlefield: despair, pain, regret, anger. However, this mixture of filthy yin spiritual energy and negative energy, at the moment of collision with the blood-colored shock wave, melted as fast as spring snow, and even showed a sense of fear. The shock wave formed by Wu Lei's tenacious martial arts will and physical blood contained a strong yang energy, which was a natural nemesis for this yin filthy thing. After a while, it swept away the black gas that enveloped Wu Lei. Without continuous corrosion, his skin no longer bleeds. With a strong physique of a top-level warrior, he can easily stop bleeding, coagulate, scar, and fall off. His skin has become smooth again. The only regret is that his whole body is covered with indelible scars, which makes Wu Lei's honor, which is already unworthy of comment, even more terrifying, and further highlights the perfection of his right arm. As for the group of dead bodies around him who were ready to move under the urging of story of the dead, they lost the yin spirit that maintained their movement after being hit by the shock wave, and fell to the ground softly. The dead are dead after all. Without the support of yin spirit, they can't do anything. Even turning the whole body of flesh and blood into nutrients to nourish the corrosive black gas did not work at all due to the suppression of Wu Lei's strong blood power. Wu Lei's overflowing blood easily broke Chen Mo's first operation method, so that there was no barrier between the two. The two energies of yin and yang are mutually opposed, just like the vertical and horizontal maneuvers. One rises while the other declines. The yin-type magic that the host is good at is yin, and the blood of the warrior is yang. Unless the host's magic is highly condensed, it will not be able to crush a half-step martial master like Wu Lei. It is recommended to use a single attack magic. The explanation of the chip made Chen Mo understand. Wu Lei, a half-step martial master, is not the trash of the 9th grade Shineman warrior he met before. His vigorous blood can already dispel low-level yin-type magic. It's really a sin. Yin-type or un-yin-type magic that are invincible in yin-type, assassination, and concealment are actually at such a disadvantage when facing a top-level warrior. If I hadn't washed my meridians, I would never have suffered such a loss. Chapter 192, Mutual Calculation. This is the dilemma of a single spell practitioner. Once the opponent restrains his own spell, the gap between the two will be further magnified, and even form a crushing trend. For example, a fire-type spell practitioner and a water-type spell practitioner are a classic case of mutual restraint, where one is strong and the other is weak, and the strong becomes stronger. Due to the natural opposition between water aura and fire aura, the advantage of the party with a slightly higher cultivation level is magnified, forming a restraining effect of big water extinguishing small fire and big fire boiling small water. Therefore, once a single spell practitioner encounters an opponent who restrains the attributes of his own spell and is several small realms higher than himself, he will most likely turn around and run away to prevent the formation of the above-mentioned father-son situation. Chen Mo practices yin-type spells alone, but he does not have the concerns of the above-mentioned father-beating son situation because there is no aura of any attribute that confronts yin aura. With the chip's perfect plan, it is impossible to formulate such a practice plan with obvious loopholes for Chen Mo. As for the small shortcoming that the warrior's ki and blood can slightly weaken the yin-zing magic, the chip deliberately ignored it, because, facing a warrior who can't fly in the air, even if Chen Mo can't beat him, he can always run away with the yin-ling wings. The warrior's masculine ki and blood can also weaken the yin spiritual energy, and it has no weakening effect on the most common 5-element magic. In order to weaken the yin spiritual energy, the quantity and quality of ki and blood must at least reach the level of a half-step martial master. Therefore, this is the first time Chen Mo has encountered an opponent like Wu Lei, and it is inevitable to suffer a little loss. Looking at the three-dimensional data alone, Wu Lei is not much stronger than the 9th grade warrior that Chen Mo met before, but it is because these three aspects of Qi, spirit and spirit, are all a little stronger that Wu Lei has half a foot over the threshold of the martial master, and every move has been essentially improved. Therefore, he can rely on his blood and courage to disperse Chen Mo's magic model and yin spiritual energy attached to the corrosive black gas and the corpses on the battlefield. The slight disadvantage caused by practicing yin-zing magic alone when facing the Qi and blood of martial honor and half-step martial honor is not a big problem in the eyes of the chip. As long as Chen Mo advances to the magical stage and the Qi Yuan is essentially sublimated, all problems will be solved. As for breaking through the magical stage, is it difficult with the chip's hand-in-hand guidance? According to the calculation of the chip, Chen Mo now has a 75% success rate of advancement. Knowing the reason why Wu Lei was so arrogant, Chen Mo gave up the plan to use instant or semi-instant low-level range magic to attack Wu Lei. This low-density, low-quality yin spiritual energy will be defeated by its highly condensed Qi and blood, which is just a waste of the limited Qi Yuan. Chen Mo continued to retreat, muttering something in his mouth, and from time to time, he took out strange spellcasting materials from his storage bag with his hands, such as the frog's right leg, the bone spider's compound eyes, and the vengeful spirit grass. He threw them into the yin spirit energy condensed in front of him one by one. Chen Mo's face was solemn, and his forehead was slightly sweaty. It was obvious that he was secretly brewing a powerful spell that would decide the outcome with one strike. Wu Lei had also killed many Kigen practitioners in close combat, and he knew that he could not let Chen Mo complete the spell, otherwise, he might not be able to withstand the opponent's thunderbolt. Even if there was blood and Qi to weaken the yin spirit energy, it would be the same. The blood unicorn on his right arm was in tune with Wu Lei's mind, and his gem-like bright eyes glowed red, covering Wu Lei's whole body, making his figure lighter, his speed soaring, and the distance between him and Chen Mo kept getting closer. 10 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet, 1 foot. The distance was getting closer and closer, and it seemed that he could grab the corner of Chen Mo's clothes with just one hand. Wu Lei showed his excitement of tasting the warm blood of his prey, and licked his lips more and more vigorously. The yin spiritual energy condensed in front of Chen Mo, after adding various spellcasting ingredients, had turned into a ball of pale green mist. It was rushed by the blood and Qi power that continued to emanate from Wu Lei's body, and it was instantly scattered, and there was a tendency to collapse. The concentration and quantity of yin spiritual energy factors in the environment are seriously insufficient. The power of the dead bone spear spell model is insufficient. It is expected that it will not be able to complete the casting before Wu Lei contacts the host. It is recommended to fine-tune the spell model immediately and replace it with the bone spear spell to avoid wasting all the previous efforts. The rich blood and Qi coming from Wu Lei made Chen Mo feel hot, as if he was in a blazing furnace. The yin spiritual energy around him also became violent. He wanted to control them, but he was a little powerless. He knew that this was the suppression of yin spiritual energy by the masculine blood of the half-step martial honor. If the spiritual energy of the subcontinent was not thin, you could go to a place with rich yin spiritual energy and try to weaken the yin spiritual energy. Chen Mo rarely cursed. If the two were in a yin evil land at this time, the yin spiritual energy would be endless. Even if Wu Lei burned out his own blood and Qi, he would definitely not be able to interrupt Chen Mo's dead bone spear. Yin spiritual energy and warrior's blood and Qi are mutually opposed, and one is growing while the other is declining. If the yin spiritual energy in the fighting environment is endless and vast, how can the little blood and Qi of Wu Zun boil a sea? Human power is sometimes limited, and this is the limitation of a warrior's power. After all, it cannot resist the trend of heaven and earth, even for Wu Zun, who is at the top of the warriors. Although Chen Mo was not forgiving, facing the threat of Wu Lei, he could only choose to release the bone spear, which was much weaker. A pale and slender spear slowly emerged in front of Chen Mo's chest, but because the yin spiritual energy provided by the environment was slightly insufficient, a section of the bone joint at the end of the bone spear could not be solidified, as if it was cut by someone out of thin air and was missing a little bit. Well, that's it, bone spear, go. With a sigh, Chen Mo pushed forward with both hands. The incomplete bone spear absorbed all the nearby yin spirit energy, making the spear body densely covered with dark spots, exuding a strong death aura, and pierced Wu Lei's left chest. However, facing the bone spear that was cold and might even contain poison, Wu Lei did not dodge, showing a crazy smile and rushing towards Chen Mo at an accelerated speed. Puff! The bone spear pierced Wu Lei's left chest without any hindrance, and the corrosive black spots continued to spread from the penetration point, dyeing his entire upper body a sickly black color, which showed that he was deeply poisoned and would not live long. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. However, Wu Lei did not feel the slightest pain, and swung his right arm fiercely towards Chen Mo's head, laughing and saying, "The blood key Rin arm is my real weakness. Even if you pierce my heart, what's the use?" In Wu Lei's red eyes, Chen Mo was already equivalent to a dead person, so he mercifully told him where his life was. "Oh? Really?" The moment his head was hit by the blood key Rin arm, Chen Mo showed a strange smile, and then, the head that should have been shattered into pieces, like a mirror, blurred for a while and slowly dissipated. "Do you really think that I can't even use a complete, dead bone spear, in this short time?" Chen Mo's sarcastic voice sounded from behind Wu Lei, and his hands were like two pythons, tightly wrapped around his blood key Rin arm. It was not until then that Wu Lei realized that the Chen Mo opposite was just an illusion formed by the condensation of yin spirit energy. "So what if your divine essence is higher than mine? Without divine sense, you can't find my yin key puppet, so it's useless." With a click, Wu Lei's blood unicorn arm was twisted off by Chen Mo. It was like a soft sponge, losing its original explosive power and perfect image, and was destroyed in an instant. Boiling blood. The strong power of blood and ki burst out from Wu Lei, who was in a desperate situation. The whole person turned red in an instant, like a hot volcanic rock, burning Chen Mo. The blood unicorn tattoo on his right arm showed a tendency to manifest from his arm under his desperate counterattack. "Ling, please stop the materialization of the blood unicorn at all costs. Otherwise, the host will be damaged at the level of soul and spirit under the impact of the martial arts will of a half-step martial master at such a close distance. The estimated amount of divine essence reduction is unknown and is being calculated." Chen Mo, who had no way out, could only grit his teeth and hold on to Wu Lei's right arm, which was still strong, and endure the burning of boiling blood and ki. Chapter 193 The Initial Formation of the Physical Body. Chichichi Wu Lei's blood and ki were like boiling water, with hot steam everywhere. Even though Chen Mo was wrapped in several layers of shrouds full of evil spirits, which was considered a buffer, it could not stop the terrifying heat that was constantly transmitted from Wu Lei. The hair on Chen Mo's body and the hair on his head twisted unconsciously, and a burning smell came from it. The ice-like skin that was achieved by practicing the yin sha corpse wrapping technique also became burnt and cracked. In a trance, Chen Mo felt that he had become a porcelain doll in a ceramic kiln, experiencing painful burning and refining. Ling. It is recommended that the host visualize the golden body or hot white skeleton picture, and use the power of Wu Lei's blood and ki to practice the yin sha corpse wrapping technique. The guidance of the chip opened the door to a new world for Chen Mo. Tempering the flesh and laying a solid foundation for the great success of the 9 yin forging pulse technique is the only way for Chen Mo to practice. Its true meaning is not "I am in the hell of Yama, but my heart of Taoism remains unchanged." Isn't the boiling blood of a half-step martial master the best material for tempering spiritual energy that is no less than the yin sha of heaven and earth? Ling. It is recommended that the host completely release the yin sha and war sha in the shroud, increase the speed of practicing the yin sha corpse shroud method, and break through the physical limit of the ki training period. Chen Mo followed the instructions of the chip, firmly controlled Wu Lei, whose blood was boiling, with both hands, closed his eyes, and practiced a yin sha corpse shroud method on the battlefield of life and death. The chip had already calculated that Wu Lei, who had entered the boiling blood state with all his heart, had lost control of his body. As long as Chen Mo controlled his right arm and prevented the tattooed blood unicorn from materializing, he would not be attacked by any external attack. As for the interference of the Jingnan army and the Beijing camp, it was even more impossible. The blood and ki that Wu Lei exuded was far beyond the ability of ordinary soldiers to resist. They could not get close to 2 people and 10 steps, otherwise their bodies would be scorched and their blood would dry up and die. The bone-chilling ice evil and the war evil that could shatter gold and jade, stimulated by Wu Lei's blood and ki, began to wash Chen Mo's body. 1 yin and 1 yang, 2 completely opposite energies, began a fierce battle with Chen Mo's body as the battlefield, the broken bones, dense meridians, and the constantly flowing blood and essence were constantly decomposed and shattered under the left and right tearing and up and down collisions of these 2 forces. With his eyes closed, Chen Mo, who was practicing the yin evil corpse wrapping technique, was unaware of his own drastic changes. He stood calmly in the raging blood and qi mist, and shed the stinking skin of his body layer by layer. Finally, the festering of the skin and the melting of the flesh and blood came to an end. Chen Mo's crystal bones revealed a radiant color, and it was dotted with bright red round blood and essence beads, showing the exquisiteness of a work of art. Chen Mo, who was in a state of visualization, had long weakened his perception of pain to the lowest point, reaching the spiritual realm of not being happy with things, not being sad with oneself. The image of the reborn Jade Arhat in his mind began to materialize, and in Chen Mo's will, it appeared extremely vivid, and even through the amplification of his soul, a miniature phantom emerged behind Chen Mo. This phantom of the Jade Arhat had sharp muscles, long eyebrows, three-dimensional facial features, and a face exactly like Chen Mo. In the raging blood, he showed a calm and peaceful smile. After an unknown amount of time, Wu Lei's blood was exhausted, and the blood that continuously emerged from his body came to an abrupt end. The power to suppress the evil spirit was almost nothing. Without the suppression of masculine power, the war evil and ice evil that still remained in the depths of the shroud began to feed back to Chen Mo. Washing layer by layer and absorbing evil spirits wisp by wisp, Chen Mo's broken and scarred body gradually grew ice muscles and jade bones, snow marrow and spiritual flesh, and their appearance was a step more delicate and exquisite than before. A single appearance was a stunning beauty that surpassed countless people in the world. Crack, Chen Mo's tightly closed eyes suddenly opened, and his pupils burst into two crystal-clear sharp rays, which made a faint electric light appear in the air, which seemed to be the rumored void electricity. Although as a pupil technique, the actual lethality of this strange light is limited, especially for those with strong will, it has almost no deterrent power, but void electricity is the proof that the practitioner's physical body has broken through the limit of the key training period. Only the physical body with an essence of more than 10.0 can make the eyes have such a strange light, and can derive various resistances to magic, and achieve the reputation of physical cultivation, being comparable to the physical training monster beast in close combat. In a sense, the essence of more than 10.0 is also the limit that the human body can reach. After stepping over this threshold, Chen Mo, even if he still looks human, has long surpassed the secular mortals in key training period key training. He has become a spiritual creature with natural resistance to magic. Bathing in low-level magic and fighting monsters are just some tricks of sprinkling water. Only practitioners can transform through the infusion of spiritual energy, step over the threshold of 10.0, and possess resistance to magic. The martial masters at the peak of martial arts only have a limit of 9.9 essence. They can compete with the cultivators in the supernatural power period, relying on high quality and large quantities of internal energy, rather than a strong body comparable to that of physical cultivators. Without the spiritual energy of heaven and earth feeding back to the body, even if they persevere in training their bodies, they will only continue to consume their own life source, and there will never be a day of normal breakthrough. This is the sadness of their inability to perceive spiritual energy and being mortals forever. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. This is also why the few physical cultivators never regard the warriors who train their bodies as the same kind, just because their strong physiques are all dependent on food supplements and unremitting training, without the participation of a trace of spiritual energy. Warriors and physical cultivators are two paths that have been staggered from the beginning, and it is destined that the scenery at the end of the two is completely different. The host's essence has jumped significantly and has reached 10.1. The host's three-dimensional data is as follows: essence 10.1, key 9.3, shen 6.6, status healthy. At the same time as the essence changed, Chen Mo's ki and shen consumed in the battle with Wu Lei were also completely restored in the previous rebirth and muscle cleansing. Chen Mo's eyes were like lightning, and his right hand clenched into a fist. The air around him became heavy in an instant. A repressive breath continued to spread from him, like a fierce beast that did not exist in the secular world. The change in the essence value from 9 to 10 is not just a data side change from single digits to double digits, but a qualitative change of shedding. Just a simple fist clenching action caused wind and clouds to surge. The power of the physical body of the physical cultivator can be seen. The strong aura of war slowly dissipated, and in the eyes of everyone, Chen Mo, who was standing alone, appeared. As for Wu Lei, he turned into a dried corpse with his essence and blood exhausted. When the fist wind created by Chen Mo blew, he turned into gray smoke. The soldiers of the Jingnan army and the Beijing camp in the distance were all shocked when they saw this creepy scene. Chapter 194 Chu Kilin. Who, with a simple breathing action, without much effort, Chen Mo created a small airflow that kept swirling in front of him, bringing up a cloud of dust. In the long wind, mixed with Wu Lei's ashes, misty and desolate. Wu Lei, a half-step martial master, ended up with a tragic ending of crushing bones and scattering ashes. Wu Lei is the first in the history of the subcontinent. With his initial physical body, Chen Mo's gestures can have an impact on the area within a radius of 10 steps. Breathing into the wind is just a small test. When he speeds up and runs, it is the real earth-shattering. The battle between the Jingnan army and the capital camp on the stalemate battlefield has no suspense because of Chen Mo's joining. There is no need to wield weapons in a simple rampage. Chen Mo's flesh and blood body is the most powerful and handy weapon. The so-called elite imperial army, the capital camp that protects the royal family, is as fragile as white paper in front of Chen Mo. A slight poke will tear it apart. Chen Mo ran all the way, and wherever he passed, people and horses fell and the army formation was scattered. Whether they were hit by Chen Mo head-on or slightly rubbed by the corner of his clothes, the soldiers of the capital camp would instantly lose a body part, or a head, or an arm, or a thigh. Either dead or injured. Chen Mo, with his savage body, was like a giant elephant, walking among the ants on the ground. Every step he took would add 5 or 6 dead souls under his feet. Killing through the army formation and turning back again, just one round, the capital camp collapsed. The so-called strength in numbers did not bring much sense of security to the ordinary soldiers on the battlefield. Often, they screamed and fled as soon as they caught a glimpse of Chen Mo's terrifying back. Even if the supervisory team and Feng Zhang's family generals shouted at the fleeing soldiers at the top of their lungs and blocked their escape route, these scared soldiers of the capital camp would chop down these so-called superiors with a knife. Faced with an enemy so powerful that it was invincible, this group of defeated soldiers did not even have the courage to block for a second, but they bravely resisted the supervisory team that was their comrade in arms just a moment ago. Chen Mo took in the despicable behavior of these secular mortals and laughed, but his steps did not stop at all, causing the capital camp to be defeated across the board. Chen Mo stopped when he saw that the time was almost right. He did not have the leisure to chase and kill a group of ants that could be killed with a single move. After a long time, this game of stepping on ants made him feel bored. Waving his hand with a dull look, Chen Mo signaled the Jingnan army behind him to follow the defeated soldiers of the capital camp and completely disband their organization. On the battlefield of cold weapons, once one side is defeated, the other side, as long as it keeps driving behind it like a wolf pack, can form an irreversible trend of chasing and chasing. Even if the remaining troops of the capital camp still rush back from all over the capital, they would be broken up by the retreating soldiers from the front line, which would only increase the number of souls killed by the swords of the Jingnan army. The defeated and retreating soldiers of the capital camp made the royal carriage, which was not driven and remained motionless, extremely eye-catching. As the nominal backbone of the army, Chu Kilin's carriage seemed to be forgotten by the lower-level soldiers and stopped alone. In all directions, there were people retreating continuously, but no one cared about him. Even the Yan Qingyi, who was most loyal to Chu Kilin, had disappeared. They were either killed or injured in the fierce battle with the Blood Wolf Guards, or they were frightened by Chen Mo's fierceness and threw away their loyalty to the emperor and patriotism to Java, escaping alone. In the noisy chaos, Chen Mo walked calmly towards the royal carriage. Along the way, no matter how crazy the fleeing soldiers of the capital camp were, or how strong their desire to escape ahead of their comrades was, no one dared to bare their teeth to Chen Mo, and they all wisely gave up their positions. The crowded crowd, with Chen Mo as the center, crashed and spread to both sides, leaving a blank area dozens of feet wide for him to walk alone. His fierce power was evident. All the chaotic troops had been frightened by Chen Mo's killing, fearing that this invulnerable devil would suddenly rise up and reproduce the previous massacre. Chen Mo curled his lips in disdain. In his eyes, these imperial guards had lost their blood and courage as soldiers. In this life, they were afraid that they would not even dare to go to the battlefield again or hold a knife again. They could only take off their armor and return to the fields to be a farmer digging for food in the fields. Because Chen Mo, who defeated the army alone, has become their nightmare that they will never get rid of. Even if they hypnotize themselves to pick up the sword and go to the battlefield, they will involuntarily recall Chen Mo's terrifying figure the moment they see the blood, and retreat and run away again. The horrible psychological trauma, as long as it is left, will accompany ordinary people for life. The royal chariot in front of Chen Mo is extremely luxurious. One chariot is comparable to the combination of the 4 chariots that Feng Zheng rides. There are also 9 fierce wildebeests with pure black manes without a trace of other colors in front. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. After being carefully trained and fed by the palace Bima Wen, even if the battlefield is in chaos and the driver is nowhere to be seen, they stand quietly in place, like a black stone statue, without startling the noble on the chariot. The divine sense penetrated into the interior of the chariot, and Chen Mo saw the other 3 people besides Chu Qilin, all of whom were from the Wu Kingdom. The leader had a dragon key talisman that exuded a disgusting smell in his hand. Seeing their ready-to-go posture, Chen Mo knew that they wanted to take advantage of the opportunity of getting on the cart to seal the Sea of Qi with Dragon Key and kill him by surprise. Unfortunately, under the all-pervasive divine sense, the evil intentions of these 3 losers were obvious. After a careful sweep, Chen Mo felt their bodies tremble slightly, like 3 trembling frightened birds, without the calmness of the sneak attackers. Too lazy to talk nonsense with them, Chen Mo waved his hand and pressed down like slapping a fly to death, and the royal chariot made a tooth-grinding creaking sound and shattered. The supreme symbol of imperial power in the secular world was wiped out by Chen Mo's wave of his hand, leaving only pieces of broken parts. The 3 Wu country thieves in the car naturally had no reason to escape. They were all killed by the huge pressure while they were in a daze, and they didn't even have time to release the Dragon Key talisman. The only survivor was Chu Qilin. Under Chen Mo's exquisite control, the collapsed royal carriage bypassed him. The nominal leader of Jinyan struggled a few times in the ruins and got out. Chu Qilin, who had just regained consciousness and freedom, also saw Chen Mo, who gave him the hope of living and was about to take away all his royal power. Chapter 195 Jin Yun's matter is over. Looking at the human emperor who was extremely noble in the secular world, crawling at his feet in a miserable state, Chen Mo felt bored. The gorgeous crown made of 99 deep-sea jade beads hung crookedly on the corner of Chu Qilin's head, and the 5-clawed golden dragon boots on his feet were accidentally kicked off by him when he got out of the ruins of the chariot. The most eye-catching thing was Chu Qilin's gorgeous bright yellow dragon robe, which was full of holes and gray, as if it had just been pressed to the ground and rubbed, and looked gray and dirty. Climbing up with difficulty and raising his head, Chu Qilin recognized Chen Mo, the second son of Chen Dingman who forced him to abdicate with just 1 sentence, and the master immortal rarely seen in the secular world. In terms of age, Chen Mo was just a junior and could not inherit the title of Marquess of Jingnan. If he had not gone to cultivate immortality, Chu Qilin would not even look at him. Chu Qilin, whose mentality had not yet been fully adjusted, was still thinking about maintaining his dignity as the ruler of a country. He tried to straighten his chest, and the noble air of the emperor that he had been pampered for more than 10 years emerged spontaneously. However, when the dragon power that was extremely terrifying to secular princes and ministers rushed towards him, Chen Mo did not feel a bit. The pressure caused by this kind of momentum and oppression was not even as great as that of a lowest-level herbivore's first-grade monster, double-lipped rabbit. You have fallen to this point, why are you still pretending to be an emperor? Without me, you would have been killed by the traitor Feng Zheng as a sacrifice. You didn't even say thank you. Here Chen Mo looked at Chu Qilin's poor performance with sarcasm, and ruthlessly exposed the fact that he had nothing. After the Wu Kingdom rebellion and the Battle of the Capital, the armed forces loyal to the royal family had been wiped out, and the rest were a group of weak scholars who were loyal to their former masters. They were just nerds and could not become anything great. Chen Dingman had plenty of ways to crush them. This is probably one of the reasons why my father changed his mind and decided to let the Chu family live. Chen Mo was too lazy to remind Chu Qilin of these twists and turns. With his experience in the court, he would be able to figure it out after calming down, so there was no need to do anything unnecessary. Closing his eyes, Chen Mo took advantage of the sudden change in his life and savored the intoxication of the cultivators crushing the secular power with their tiny bodies. So this is the charm of cultivation. No matter how much money you have, how many troops you have at your side, or how powerful you are, as long as I want, I can take your life with a wave of my hand. Those in power are no more than this. Their lives are only in the hands of Chen Mo. The speaker is unintentional, but the listener is intentional. Chu Qilin's face turned paler with every word he heard. In the end, even with his emperor's heart, he was frightened to the point that his legs became weak and he collapsed. If Chu Zijin, who had just arrived, had not supported him, Chu Qilin, as the last emperor of Jinan, would have been torn to pieces in front of the Jingnan army in Shendingmen, leaving nothing behind. Chu Zijin had mixed feelings towards Chen Mo, with resentment and gratitude for his father's rescue. He kept all his words to himself, without saying a word, but lowered his head, not daring to look at him. Chen Mo, however, paid no attention to the father and daughter in front of him. His thoughts drifted to the Wu Kingdom and even the Khianian Empire. He thought of those emperors who suppressed the four directions with dragon energy and whose hearts were filled with ambitions and great undertakings. When the cultivators cut off their dragon veins and pulled down their dragon thrones, would they be panicked and embarrassed like Chu Qilin, or even an ordinary mortal? In essence, what is the difference between these so-called powerful people and Chu Qilin? They are equally powerless and have a lifespan of barely 100 years. The only thing that makes them stronger than Chu Qilin is that they have more soldiers under their command, rule a wider territory, and have more wealth and splendor. Once the emperor status is exposed by the practitioners, they are just ordinary mortals whose lifespan is less than 100 years. For the first time in his life, a terrible and treasonous idea arose in Chen Mo's mind: pull Qiannian Huang off the dragon throne, appreciate his lost expression of power and his endless fear of facing those with power. Resolving a small Chu Qilin will not bring Chen Mo much satisfaction and sense of accomplishment. Only Qiannian Huang, who wants to cut off the connection between heaven and earth and imprison all the practitioners in the world, is qualified to be severely humiliated by him. The first step of the long march starts with the ruler of Wu State. Chen Mo set a small goal in life. It is still a long way to go to deal with the emperor of Qiannian. Even if Chen Mo advances to the stage of supernatural power, there is no hope, because the Zhu Yi sect, which has a great elder in the stage of condensing pills, has never attacked the capital of Qiannian Dragon City, and has never even touched its walls. The records of this Qiannian capital in the Sutra Library are nothing more than hand-drawn images of disciples who sneak into Longdu secretly. In the analysis of the chip, a few sketches are extremely rough and can't extract much valuable information. The only thing Chen Mo knows is, Longdu, as the power center of the Qiannian Empire, is a real place of absolute spirituality. The dragon key is dense and the spiritual energy is forbidden. The moment you step into the city wall, the key sea and the sea of consciousness of all people below the stage of supernatural power, including body cultivators, will be completely sealed by the ubiquitous dragon key net, and there is no possibility of self-unsealing. If you want to see the ugly appearance of the peak of power, the emperor of Qiannian, Chen Mo can only see hope if he advances to the stage of condensing pills. The big goal of life is temporarily far away, so Chen Mo can only take action against the king of Wu, who is not as good as Emperor Qiannian, in the last days of the subcontinent. Chu Qilin, at best, is just an appetizer. A mere dragon vein in Wudu is only 10 miles long, but it can't stop the ghost fire Guxi in the late stage of supernatural power. There are plenty of opportunities to humiliate the royal family of Wu. Chen Mo just happened to avenge the revenge of the attacks and killings since he set foot on the subcontinent. Chen Mo seemed to foresee the fate of Wu State burning and wailing in blood and fire. It's a pity that after this turmoil, today's abdication and offering ceremony seems to be unable to proceed. It's better this way, Chu Qilin. You can take your family and honestly return to your ancestral home on Yuan and be a rich and happy Gui Minghao. Chen Dingman's rough and loud voice also reached the ruins of the chariot. Soon, his burly body moved to the side of Chen Mo, and he looked at Chu Qilin with his green eyes, jokingly looking at this complete loser. Judging from his image alone, compared with the tall, elegant and handsome former Jinan Lord Chu Qilin, Chen Dingman, who had a dark complexion, messy hair, and looked like a gangster, was really unworthy of being the emperor. As a second choice, even if he was the leader of an army, it would be difficult. But Chen Dingman had a second son, Chen Mo, who was so outstanding that the old Chen family's ancestral graves were filled with smoke. Even if he was a stinky soldier who only knew how to wield guns and swords, the dragon throne of Jinan was still delivered to him. It was easy to get it, and the father was honored by the son, nothing more than this. As the winner, Chen Dingman no longer planned to kill the Chu family, whose wings were almost extinct, but he could not avoid showing off in front of his mortal enemy and old friend, given his soldier-born mentality. The situation was stronger than the person. Chu Qilin could only swallow the humiliation and said with a wooden face, "The Marquess of Giming greets His Majesty." The Marquess of Giming, Obeying the will of heaven and crawling under the Marquess of Jingnan was the title that Chen Dingman, who had little culture, racked his brains to come up with for Chu Qilin. With Chu Qilin's literary attainments, it was not difficult to understand the deep meaning, and it was natural for him to be filled with anger. It's a pity for the 100-year ancestral foundation of my Chu family. Thinking of this, Chu Qilin's eyes were sore, and crystal tears fell to the ground. It can be said that men don't shed tears easily, but they just haven't reached the point of being sad. But in the following 3 kneelings and 9 kowtows, Chu Qilin couldn't bring himself to perform in front of Chen Dingman's proud face. He ascended the throne to the emperor smoothly from being the crown prince, without keeping a low profile or bearing humiliation. Faced with his former enemy, who suddenly changed his ways and rode on him and pissed and shit on him, Chu Qilin did not have enough cultivation to compromise, let alone endure hardships and plot a comeback. Chen Dingman was satisfied and wanted to leave to the palace to enjoy the throne, but he suddenly saw Chen Mo and Chu Zijin standing close to each other, looking like a perfect couple. He suddenly had an idea and blurted out, "Remember, Mara and your Zijin still have a marriage contract, which was made by you and me before they embarked on the immortal journey. Now they are almost the same age, so why not let your daughter be a concubine?" The latest novels are first published on liujiu9shu.com. Giming Hao, what do you think? Chen Dingman's tone was not strong, but with the disparity in strength between the two sides, Chu Qilin already knew the answer. Wasn't it just I do? His face was as pale as gold paper, and he was desperate. The throne, wealth, the capital camp, and the beloved little daughter were all taken away one after another by the hungry wolf Chen Dingman. Moreover, this was a concubine, which was much worse than the original Chen's son marries the princess engagement. Not even a co-wife. This was simply a humiliation to the Chu family. Chu Qilin wanted to force himself to reject it, but seeing Chen Dingman's undisguised threatening look, he fell silent, thinking of the Chu family's men, women, old and young. After a long time, he turned his head to the side, and his body became much more hunched. My Mara is so outstanding. How can she be the only Taoist companion just by saying so? With your Zijin's cultivation, I think she should be content with the title of a concubine. Mara, what do you think? You have to pass on the family line for our Chen family. Chen Ding looked at Chen Mo expectantly. He really hoped that the excellent bloodline of the cultivators could continue to multiply and inherit in the Chen family from Chen Mo's generation. With a cultivator from generation to generation, the Jingnan Chen family will surely prosper forever. Pass on the family line, and big brother, I have no interest in this woman. Chen Mo looked calm and glanced coldly at Chu Zijin and his daughter, making them feel as if they were falling into an ice cellar. Then he put on his gray robe again, wrapped himself tightly, transformed himself into an ordinary traveler, and headed to the west where the Wu kingdom was. I have no interest in her. Father, the matter of Wu state has yet to be resolved. Master has sent a message to me to meet him in Wudu. We will say goodbye now. Outside the capital, I have specially left you a 9th grade blood clear beast to ride. Jinnan's secular world has been completely settled. Chen Mo has no more nostalgia. She doesn't need to say goodbye to her father and brother for 10 miles, and her clothes are full of tears. She simply left a simple instruction and left without looking back. The 3 people who stayed there had mixed feelings. Chen Dingman, with his eyes full of the tall figure of his outstanding son, felt a sense of pride and a gratified smile on his lips. At this moment, although it was a farewell, he chose to support Chen Mo's decision. Chu Qilin, on the other hand, was relieved when he knew that his daughter didn't have to be a concubine and be beaten and scolded by others. But soon, as a father, he became extremely angry with Chen Mo, thinking that his beautiful daughter was not worthy of his position as a concubine. The feelings were really complicated. As for the person involved, Chu Zijin, she didn't think much about it. As early as in the Gurum breeding farm, she saw through Chen Mo's pursuit of cold-blooded and ruthless, and only seeking the peak of the immortal path. Chu Zijin was not surprised by the word no sexual interest, but she stared at Chen Mo's back and said to herself, don't practice so hard that you will become obsessed with it. Otherwise, maybe I will have a breakthrough in my cultivation and beat down the 2 guard dogs you left behind, and your father will be driven back to southern Xinjiang to become the Marquess of Jingnan. Just like this, after a turmoil, Jingnan Kingdom peacefully changed its owner. The Marquess of Jingnan Mansion, far away in southern Xinjiang, also changed its name. The princess of the Nanman married Jinayan and became the princess of the Crown Prince Chenanan. The Jingnan army also replaced the position of the capital camp. As a southern border army, it took root in the capital and protected the Chen family for generations. As for Chen Mo, he was gradually forgotten by the world. Chapter 196 Wudu. Wu State, Wudu, a majestic city, is surrounded by mountains and rivers, with a dragon coiling and a tiger crouching. The continuous bluestone city walls protect Wu State in the only dragon vein in the subcontinent. Chen Mo was outside the city, watching with key watching technique. Wudu's earth energy rises, and in the void, a young giant dragon looms, which is 10 miles long. The dragon's body is vaguely consistent with the layout and trend of Wudu. It winds around and leans on the continuous mountains on its side, just like hiding in the mountains and forests. The dragon's head can be seen but its tail cannot be seen. A section of the slender dragon's tail extends into a vast lake to the left and rear of Wudu, connecting with the endless water vapor rising up, taking the vitality of the beautiful water to feed itself, just in line with there is a source of living water. As for the dragon head of the dragon vein with the most abundant dragon energy, it is facing the gate of Wudu, like a majestic beast guarding the gate, opening its ferocious mouth to intimidate every practitioner with ill intentions. For ordinary key practitioners, simply entering Wudu from the city gate is an extremely unfriendly experience, because the dragon energy of the dragon head of the dragon vein will suppress their sea of ki and sea of consciousness. Although this dragon vein in Wudu is far from being able to prohibit all the magic abilities of practitioners for a long time like Kai and Nilong do, it is still no problem to suppress it for a while. If the unlucky person is discovered by the Wu Kingdom spy at the gate when entering the city, he will not be able to perform magic under the suppression of dragon energy, and there is no reason for him to survive. Rather than saying that the dragon vein is in line with the layout of Wudu, it is better to say that the construction of Wudu relies on this dragon vein of heaven and earth. The layout and planning are strictly in accordance with the trend of the dragon vein. I am afraid that when the city was built, there were some Kigan practitioners who forgot their origins and gave instructions. Chen Mo sighed slightly, feeling that it was not easy to cut the dragon vein. Fortunately, everything was in front of his chief master Guzai. Even if he had to die, he would be the first to die. The distribution of dragon energy and the trend of dragon vein seen by key watching technique are just a rough idea. For example, the location of the city gate with the most concentrated dragon energy is likely to be a deliberate trick set up by the designer. Logically, the Wu Kingdom Palace is located in the center of Wudu and is the core of the world. It should be the gathering place of dragon energy. However, the phantom of the dragon vein revealed by key watching technique has formed a huge desert of dragon energy in the central area, which is in sharp contrast to the surrounding dragon energy that is not released. If something is out of the ordinary, there must be something wrong. Without the need for the chip to warn him, Chen Mo used the key watching technique to simply observe the difference in dragon energy concentration between the Wu Kingdom's palace and the surrounding area, and made a completely correct judgment. The analysis of the Wudu dragon vein is complete, and the inference is as follows. The dragon energy concentration at the palace is a cliff-like drop from the surrounding area. Once the dragon energy moves abnormally, this desert will form a siphon effect, and the dragon energy in the surrounding high concentration areas will continuously flow into the palace according to the principle of penetration, making it a Jedi for practitioners. The remains of the boundary monument obtained from the Nanman King's court are the essence of the core section of the Wudu dragon vein, and they are full of spirituality. Otherwise, they would not have been born with spiritual intelligence and become stone spirits by chance. The chip made an in-depth analysis of it, which played a key role in Chen Mo's understanding of the Wudu dragon vein. It can be said that this dragon vein that Wu Kingdom is proud of and hopes to compete with the late-stage supernatural cultivators has no secrets in front of the chip. The three-dimensional dynamic simulation diagram given by the chip changes rapidly at a rate of 10 times, clearly revealing to Chen Mo the hidden murderous intention of the Wu Kingdom's palace. The palace is not big, and it is located in the heart of the dragon's phantom, which is the core of the dragon vein and the best entry point to cut a dragon vein. For practitioners who want to break the restriction of dragon energy once and for all, the palace is the biggest temptation. However, a lot of boundary monument remains were secretly buried 100 feet deep underground. Chen Mo counted carefully and found that there were as many as 8. The well-arranged layout makes the 8 boundary monument remains connected to each other, forming an amplitude trend. Only the upper left position is a little top-heavy because of the lack of a boundary monument, which is the position left for the boundary monument remains in Chen Mo's hand. From this point alone, We can see the high efficiency of the Wu Kingdom's search. In just a few years, almost all the 9 lost essences of the dragon vein have been collected. After being nurtured by the dragon energy, the spiritual energy and wisdom of the boundary monument had long been wiped out, and what was regenerated was a high-intensity dragon energy. However, due to the dragon vein essence characteristics of the wreckage itself, the dragon energy was contained but not released, forming a sure kill trap in the Wu Kingdom Palace. Even if Guzai, who is in the late stage of supernatural power, stepped into this dragon energy force field, he would be beaten badly by the suddenly released dragon energy. But why should I leak this information to my chief master? Isn't it better to let him die in the Wu Kingdom Palace? Not only will there be no possibility of Ranku cordyceps being discovered, but he can also accept the huge inheritance of the Gugrass lineage. Chen Mo smiled, and looked forward to the unprepared scene when Guzai cut the dragon vein. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. With his perverse behavior, he must fly directly into Wudu, turn the tide, and crush the dragon vein heart together with the dragon sons and grandsons in the palace. It's just that it's a little troublesome to enter the city. Chen Mo took out a pass and an identity nameplate, muttering to himself. As the capital of Wu State, there are spies and inspectors from all forces everywhere. The documents that Chen Mo hastily forged on the way here may not be able to hide from the spies of the court. If Guxi has not arrived yet, his identity will be accidentally exposed. Chen Mo is not sure to successfully leave the city. I feel a weak fluctuation of spiritual energy, which is suspected to be a meeting mark left behind. The location is the grove southeast of the host. It is recommended to search it, or there may be an unexpected surprise. Raising his eyebrows, Chen Mo secretly said, as expected, the immortal forces that want to dismember Wu State are not just the blood-clothed sect. According to rumors, there are great benefits for cultivators to cut off dragon veins. Not to mention the great research value of the remaining dragon veins, the reward of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. For those who cut off dragon veins is a good thing that all the cultivators in the supernatural power period are eager to get. Spiritual energy and dragon energy are naturally opposite, and the proportion of the former between heaven and earth is far greater than the latter. The rules of heaven, that are constantly running in the dark, are also slightly inclined to spiritual energy. Cutting off dragon veins means weakening dragon energy and increasing spiritual energy. Those who contribute more will receive the gift of heaven and earth known as spiritual energy initiation, and can even directly break through a small realm. For cultivators who encounter bottlenecks in their practice, it is an irresistible temptation. The dragon veins of Wuguo must have been divided and allocated by the sects on the west coast of Xianfang continent. Guxi, I think, represents the blood-clothed sect. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197, Fellow Traveler. The divine power cultivators eat meat, and we, the little ants of the key training stage, drink soup. I never thought that this job could make us, the little pathfinders of the key training stage, feel good. Chen Mo raised his eyebrows and roughly guessed a cause and effect of this exploration mission. As long as you can contribute to the great cause of breaking the dragon vein, you will have the opportunity to infuse the body with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Although the degree of infusing the body of the key training cultivators is much worse than that of the main cultivators who cut the dragon vein. If Guzai was not strong and shared this precious quota with his disciples, Chen Mo would not be able to get this lucrative job even if he paid more sect contribution points. Because, in the cultivation world, all opportunities that can help break through the bottleneck of the divine power stage are real strategic materials. In the blood-clothed sect, there are a large number of inner and outer disciples who knew nothing about the appearance of the dragon vein on the subcontinent and missed this opportunity in vain. This kind of half-trial and half-welfare task may be specially used by the sect to cultivate reserve cultivators. There are various forms. I think this time it is the turn of the Gugrass lineage, so Luz Henner and I both got a precious ticket with the help of Guzai. Chen Mo also understood the training mode of the blood-clothed sect more and more. The high-level leaders would not even look at the numerous low-level inner and outer disciples, and they were reluctant to give them even a piece of low-level spiritual stone. They also used the sect contribution point system to intensively exploit these poor low-level disciples. The sect's high-level leaders let them compete with each other for limited cultivation resources inside the sect, and look for alien races, monsters, righteous ways, and Kyanian empire outside the sect to plunder spiritual plants and minerals, and brought the survival of the fittest Gu raising and training mode to its fullest. But as long as you become the direct descendant of the demon sect, that is, join the major branches, the sect will allocate rich cultivation resources and let each branch distribute them freely. Opportunities like dragon veins also belong to this kind of cultivation resources, but they are extremely precious. Even though the bulk of the spiritual energy was divided up by the masters of the sects like Guzai, the fine broth could be shared among the direct disciples. Given Chen Mo's status as the one in Guzai's heart, it was normal for him to have this quota. With this in mind, Chen Mo couldn't help but guess that the spiritual energy mark outside the city was also left by the core disciples of the sect at the same level as himself, probably with the intention of acting together and sharing the leftovers of the spiritual energy. After observing with a key watching technique, Chen Mo understood that the Wudu dragon vein was of a decent size, and Guzai alone could not eat it. If he attacked by force, he would be broken into pieces by the traps at the palace. Under the premise that the condensation pill stage supreme disdained this opportunity, the only possibility of cutting off the dragon vein was that the famous immortal and demon sects on the west coast would send their supernatural power stage cultivators to share it. Although the blood robe sect is unreasonable, it is not to the extent of covering the sky with one hand and eating alone. This dragon vein of the subcontinent cannot be hidden. It can only be shared with others. Fortunately, I have a cheap master with some power, otherwise I can't even drink a mouthful of meat soup. Chen Mo secretly rejoiced, and felt that Guzai was considerate. In order to make him deceive the master and destroy the ancestors faster, he personally gave him this precious opportunity. Breath-concealing technique. Although there may be people of the same path in the grove, Chen Mo's vigilance has not been reduced much because of this subjective and objective combination of speculation. He carefully concealed his body and then quietly walked into the dense forest. If it is a trap of the Wu Kingdom, wouldn't it be courting death if I ran into it? If it is a person of the same path, there is no need to show up. It is safer to follow them secretly to pick up leaks than to rush to the front to open the way and get beaten. With such a cautious mentality, Chen Mo saw the Kighan practitioners who were discussing issues in a circle under a towering ancient tree. The twin brothers in their early 20s were on guard at the outermost edge of the circle. The elder brother held a sword in his left hand, and the younger brother held a sword in his right hand. The talismans in their hands were exactly the same, and their key was connected, just like the twin brothers holding swords. They looked exactly the same. Even their movements of holding swords were exactly the same, breathing and moving in the same rhythm, as if they were one person. The two brothers seemed to be standing lazily at the edge of the shade, but their sight kept wandering around the nearby bushes. Their eyes were like lightning, and there was a faint golden sword light flashing in their black pupils. At first glance, they were famous sword cultivators among the practitioners. And because they were brothers, they must be proficient in the art of combined attack. With 1 against 2, the chip calculated that Chen Mo had a winning rate of only a pitiful 21%, which was a tough opponent. Given their ages, only the Tanya Sword sect, which was the leader of the West Coast Immortal Dao, could train them. The remaining people were all hidden demon cultivators, planning to enter the city under the tree with a sinister look, but their eyes would occasionally secretly glance at the two disciples of the Tanya Sword sect, with a hint of rejection and vigilance. It seems that the ones who will divide up the opportunity of the Wu Kingdom dragon vein this time are mainly the demon sects and the Tanya Sword sect. I just don't know if there are other righteous sects that have not yet appeared. With the sword cultivation of these two brothers, and the fact that they are two people attacking together, they are definitely not afraid of the demon cultivators with different hearts, so they dare to come to participate in this discussion. Chen Mo eavesdropped for a long time not far away and found that the demon cubs had discussed for a long time but still could not come to a common opinion. Scattered guerrillas, a mob. Cursing secretly, Chen Mo felt that coming here to spy was just a waste of life. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. How could the disciples of the demon sect work together to sneak into Wudu with their cold and indifferent nature of only believing in themselves and not caring about others? Most people present were probably thinking of throwing stones to test the water and encouraging their companions to enter the city gate first. Even if they sneaked in together, these demon cubs must have planned to slip away first and let the Taoist friends take the blame. Chen Mo glanced at the corner of his eyes and saw the pretty figure of Lu Zhen'er, She was lowering her head, listening indifferently to the high-pitched conversations of the demon cultivators beside her, and kicked the stones under her feet out of boredom. You are only at the 6th level of key training, and you dare to mix with this group of rabble. You are destined to be cannon fodder. Chen Mo sighed, and knew that he could not let Lu Zhan'er foolishly act with this group of demon cultivators who were ready to pit their fellow Daoists at any time. His lips moved slightly, and he secretly transmitted the message, "Junior sister, when you act with them, keep a hand and stay at the end. Follow my instructions and be ready to leave the team and escape at any time." In order to prevent Lu Zhan'er from being frightened suddenly, Chen Mo's voice transmission technique was extremely gentle and careful, with a slow speed and a pleasant face. Lu Zhan'er's performance was also special. When she heard this voice, her face did not change at all, and she did not even stop kicking the stone. Even the people around her could not notice that she was listening to someone's secret words. Ling. This woman is calm and composed. She must have been mentally prepared to answer the host's voice transmission. She had guessed that the host would appear long ago. She is scheming and not a good match. Please keep your distance. The chip revealed Lu Zhan'er's true face. Chen Mo was not surprised. With Gu Zai's advance message from the spirit talisman, if Lu Zhan'er still couldn't guess that she would come to Wudu, she would not be a direct disciple of the demon sect. After hanging out in the blood robe sect for 4 or 5 years, she would be a kind person, and her heart would have been as black as charcoal. What's more, Lu Zhan'er was born in a family of cultivators. She must have heard too many stories about the intrigues and struggles among cultivators since she was a child. Chapter 198 Smooth Entry into the City. If you listen any further, you won't gain much. Chen Mo made a statement, because he was really tired of the endless chatter of the people under the tree about frontal infiltration, wall climbing plans, and earth escape techniques. They are all chicken stealing and dog stealing techniques, which is a waste of the identity of a high-level Kigen practitioner. With a shallow knowledge of this group of disciples from famous families and disciples of the magic sect, they are definitely not as good as Chip, who has carefully studied the remains of the Boundary Monument and has a deep understanding of the dragon veins of the Wu Kingdom. Chen Mo listened for a while, and didn't want to be polluted by these vulgar remarks anymore, so he quietly left. Hidden in the corner of a nearby city wall, Chen Mo quietly waited for the moment when these peers sneaked into Wudu. Ling. Within 10 steps of the city gate and the city wall, the dragon energy force field is abnormal, which is suspected to be a warning dragon energy trap. It is recommended that the host do not forcefully break in. The probability of the people under the tree successfully sneaking in without being discovered is 32.8%. When Chen Mo heard this, he no longer had any hope for this group of rabble. He slapped his forehead and closed his eyes helplessly. But he did not show up to remind everyone, because no one would believe him without evidence. Throw a stone to test the water, use them as the vanguard, and see the outer protection measures of Wudu. Only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. Even though he knew that there were definitely martial masters in Wudu, Chen Mo also wanted to see how many second-rate warriors there were, in case he underestimated them in future actions, so that he would be dragged down by a group of ants and fall into a siege. After the essence passed the 10.0 mark, Chen Mo's physical strength was inexhaustible. In common sense, he did not need to be afraid, and could easily fight against thousands of troops alone, but what he was worried about was, the dragon vein moved abnormally, and the dragon energy of the entire Wudu rushed towards him. Even if the physical body of the physical cultivator is strong and does not rely on magic, if the physical body is immersed in the dragon energy for a long time, the sea of Qi and the sea of consciousness are in danger of shrinking, which Chen Mo cannot bear. If my fellow Daoists die, I'll let them lead the way for me. It's best if they all die. That way, no one will snatch the soup from me in the end. Chen Mo had a darker idea in his mind. It's not his turn to infuse the body with spiritual energy at the level of a cultivator, but if one person can take all the benefits of the level of a key practitioner, the effect is still good, not to mention that once you step into the 12th level of key practice, you can't escape even if you are at the 10th level of key practice. With this mentality, Chen Mo watched a group of sneaky key practitioners climb up the continuous bluestone walls of Wudu. Wudu covers a vast area. Unless it is a life and death moment when the army is besieging the city, it is impossible to guarantee that there are soldiers patrolling on the walls for 12 hours at all times, and their spirits have always been good, taking care of every inch of space in the jurisdiction. Therefore, The powerful disciples of the Immortal sect deliberately chose a section of the wall with fewer patrolling soldiers, and climbed the outer wall like a gecko, and touched the top of the wall. Since this place is far from the city gate and the main road, no mortals have discovered these human-shaped geckos. And out of caution, each of them cast a light and shadow technique on themselves to distort their vision and create visual errors. 3 demon cubs who are proficient in wind, water, and yin magic also joined forces to create a dark cloud over the area, blocking the evening glow and blowing a breeze filled with sand and dust towards the patrolling soldiers. Since it was already evening and the weather was not very good, the abnormality here was also regarded as a natural phenomenon of the upcoming change of the sky. The patrolling soldiers did not give a warning, but continued to patrol as usual. It was just that the dust caught their eyes, and the soldiers who were not even at the first level of health preservation subconsciously rubbed their eyes, allowing the Kigan practitioners who had been eager to move to seize the opportunity. In the moment when they rubbed their eyes, several shadows flashed through the soldiers' sight. When the sand and wine dissipated and the wind was gone, there was nothing else in their sight except their comrades beside them. It seemed like something passed by just now. Did you feel it? The question was asked by a young soldier with fuzz on the corners of his mouth. He was sharp-eyed and had the best physical fitness among the patrol soldiers. He felt something was wrong. What was it? Why didn't I see it? I think you were tired of playing with Miss Qingyi last night. After most of the day, you still haven't recovered. Your eyes are still blurry in the middle of the night. If you ask me, don't lean on the red and green tonight. Young man, pay attention to moderation. Your monthly salary can't withstand such tossing, and your body can't stand it. The only young soldier who felt something was wrong was denied and ridiculed by his companions, and he dispelled his doubts. He touched his head and thought that he was really dazzled just now. However, as a young man, he would never admit that he was dizzy and weak in the knees due to excessive attention to women. He immediately stiffened his neck and shouted to go to the brothel tonight to prove that he was a man. Chen Mo had been hiding in the corner, observing the group of pathfinders with his continuous spiritual sense, especially paying attention to junior sister Lu's hunter, and was ready to help her retreat at any time. However, until the people from the demon sect and the sword cultivators who were acting together walked out of Chen Mo's spiritual sense-sensing range, there was no noise of capturing practitioners in Wudu. How could they get in so easily? Chen Mo was full of doubts. The fluctuation of dragon energy was detected, and the dragon energy residue was found, pointing to the demon cultivators and sword cultivators. It happened to mark these 10 people one by one. The estimated retention time of the dragon energy mark is 46 hours. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. As expected, first mark, then hunt. Amazing, it is worthy of being the only dragon vein in the subcontinent. Chen Mo felt normal at this moment. If it is so easy to sneak into Wudu, with the means of the supernatural power cultivators, they can create chaos in the important place of the capital at will. A secular kingdom cannot withstand such a blow for a long time. Of course, there are still very few cultivators who are so shameless to attack mortals. What they usually do is to perform a large-scale natural disaster spell to directly destroy the city. The analysis of the dragon energy mark is completed. The removal method is as follows. Use the spiritual energy to form a Z shape to cover the dragon energy residue on the clothes. After analyzing the remains of the boundary monument, it only takes 2 breaths for the chip to crack this kind of insidious trick. Seeing this, Chen Mo no longer hesitated, turned into a shadow, and sneaked into Wudu along the route taken by the predecessors. Falling into a dead end, Chen Mo did not notice that there was a dragon energy mark on his body. If the chip was not marked in bright red in the dynamic view, he would not have discovered it even when the elite soldiers of the Wu Kingdom came to the door. Oh, I'm afraid it will be a sleepless night tonight. I don't know how many of these Taoist friends who have revealed their true colors will survive. Chen Mo will help Lu's Henner erase the dragon mark. As for the others, they can only pray for the best. As a guiding stone to help Chen Mo find out a number of high-level warriors in Wudu, they will definitely be greeted by the strongest force of Wu country. Just wait and see. Chapter 199 Night Murder. It was late at night. The moonlight was just right over Wudu, and the bright moonlight with stars sprinkled on Chen Mo's shoulders. Standing on the railing, on a city tower, Chen Mo looked at the 10,000 lights in Wudu quietly. Every little light in front of him represented a small candle. For ordinary people, Even the shortest and lowest quality stone candles were expensive daily necessities with a unit price not inferior to half a caddy of pork. They were reluctant to use them unless it was a festival or a wedding or funeral. In Jinan country, only wealthy merchants, officials, and noble families would use candlelight to illuminate their mansions in every dark night. However, the bright and dark candlelight in front of him covered most of the city. From this point alone, Chen Mo could see that Wuguo was rich among the people. Even ordinary people could afford lighting such as stone candles on ordinary nights. Not to mention the Wu Kingdom's palace, which was illuminated by lanterns as bright as day. A rich people is likely to make a strong country. From the popularity of stone candles, Chen Mo asserted that Wu Kingdom has the powerful strength to dominate the subcontinent, which is incomparable to Yan Kingdom. However, under this quiet and peaceful appearance of thousands of lights, there is an undercurrent, surging. Chen Mo looked down from a high place, and with only his physical eyesight, he detected the traces of murderous intent in Wudu. The target was the 9 sect disciples marked by dragon energy. They did not have the inside of the chip, and had no idea that their identities and hiding places had been exposed. They still swaggered through Wudu without knowing whether to live or die, feeling the secular fireworks rarely seen in the sect. Death is imminent, but they don't know it. It's sad and lamentable. The positions of these 9 people are also extremely conspicuous in the plane map of Wudu, simulated by the chip. The dragon energy marks left on their clothes echoed the dragon veins underground. The Earth's ki rose and quietly surrounded them, forming extremely conspicuous dragon ki nodes. Such anomalies are naturally not detectable by ordinary ki watching techniques, but the designer of Wudu must have left corresponding tracking measures, which are firmly in the hands of the Wu Kingdom royal family. In this way, the section of dragon veins that vaguely match the city wall is equivalent to a filter to protect Wudu. Although it does not have the ability to suppress the ki sea and consciousness sea of practitioners, as long as a practitioner with spiritual energy passes through, it will definitely leave a striking dragon ki mark on the visitor. Under the tracking of someone with intentions, if you are hit by the dragon ki mark, no matter how powerful the concealment and breath-holding techniques are, the only outcome is that your identity will be exposed. After Chen Mo caught up with Lu's hunter, he quietly wiped off the dragon ki mark on her clothes. Therefore, among this group of key training disciples who entered the city, only Chen Mo and Lu's hunter had their identities and positions not exposed. The rest of the people, ignorantly became a fat fish waiting to be caught in the Wu Kingdom fishing net. In the northeast corner of the city, southwest of the main city gate, and right in front of the host, there are 6 places with dragon ki marks of different durations. In summary, there are 15 Kigan practitioners in Wudu, excluding the host and Lu's hunter. After a long time, the chip found 6 more abnormal dragon ki nodes and concluded, in addition to the demonic path and Tanya sword sect, there are also third-party forces infiltrating. They also want to share the broth of the dragon vein collapse. Although there is no supernatural cultivator among the intruders, such a strong man would not bother to infiltrate Wudu. The total of 15 high-level Kigan practitioners is also a powerful force in the secular world. It just meets Chen Mo's minimum requirement to spy on the reality of Wuguo. Let me wait and see. Chen Mo concentrated, facing the evening breeze, watching the movements under the city tower. Countless figures are quietly approaching the practitioners who have not yet realized that their identities have been exposed. Since Wudu was built on the dragon vein, these elite disciples from famous families, even if they were confident in their strength, did not dare to rashly use magic to explore the changes in the environment around them, for fear of exposing themselves. Therefore, they were unable to predict the enemy's presence, and fell into the encirclement set up by the Wuguo Wuzu one after another. It seemed that the divine sense warning unique to the 6th level and above Kigan practitioners was also ineffective under the interference of the dragon's energy. No one had foresight and fled early on a whim. Finally, a Wuzu came within 100 steps of the intruder. Unlike the footsteps of ordinary people, the unconscious leakage of ki and blood power was immediately detected by the practitioners with sensitive 6 senses. In the middle of the night, the tranquility of Wudu was broken by the sound of killing one after another. In the city, a total of 15 corners, one after another, started fighting, murderous intentions arose, and dragons and snakes rose from the land. Under the exposure of the chip, a faint dragon energy rose from the surface of Wudu, completely eliminating the already thin spiritual energy in the city. Even with Chen Mo's excellent aptitude for practicing the Yin 8 spiritual veins after washing away the earth, fire and other spiritual veins, It was still extremely difficult to sense the free yin spiritual energy. Perhaps in such a disparate situation, only when the 9 yin forging veins technique was perfected and advanced to the stage of supernatural powers, Chen Mo could freely mobilize the spiritual energy around him. As a key practitioner, the reserves of the Qi were relatively insufficient, and he could only rely on extracting the spiritual energy from the spiritual stones he carried to barely perform his magic. However, the efficiency of doing so was far less than directly condensing the free spiritual energy of heaven and earth around him. The latest novel was first published on the 69th book bar. The efficiency of extracting the spiritual energy from the spiritual stones was even more outrageous for a poor person with a poor fortune and only low-level spiritual stones. By the time he could barely hold back a low-level magic, he would have been killed 3 or 4 times. Besides, will the Wuzhu, who specialize in killing, give you the opportunity to calmly extract the spiritual energy of the spirit stone? Chen Mo muttered to himself, and at the same time cast his eyes to a royal palace on the edge of the city. The Wuzhu, wearing light yellow bright armor, has surrounded this summer palace and knocked open the revolving wooden door. The Wuzhu, an elite soldier who has devoted all his efforts to the Wu Kingdom, is composed of warriors of the first rank. It is the strongest army of the Wu Kingdom in conquering cities and territories on the subcontinent. Among them, the weakest lieutenants are all warriors of the 5th rank of divine power. Many of them are wearing dragon armor that is specially used to restrain spiritual energy and deal with practitioners. This is the standard dragon armor produced by the Kainian Empire's Immortal Locking Division. Chen Mo's pupils shrank and he exclaimed. His mind turned quickly, and he immediately guessed the secret connection between the Wu Kingdom and the Kainian Empire. It must be that the Kainian Empire felt that it could not stand alone in the face of the siege by the cultivation world, so it supported the mortal kingdom with dragon veins in the subcontinent, and attempted to surround the spiritual Holy Land on the west coast with a spiritual desert, and cut off the Taoist lineage of the immortal sect and the demon sect. The Jiaolong armor was originally a full-body armor made of 100 forged fine iron, and it was completed after being soaked in liquid dragon energy for 7,749 days. It was specially equipped for high-level warriors. With a trace amount of dragon energy absorbed by the armor, it weakened the effect of magic and helped high-level warriors to get close to the Qigong practitioners. Chen Mo vaguely remembered that the twin brothers who sneaked into the royal palace here had weak bodies. Even though they were sword cultivators with the best single-body attack power, once a warrior gets close to them, the end. Tut-tut. Only a physical cultivator like Chen Mo could look down on the high-level warriors wearing Jiaolong armor with disdain and indifference. Roar, yin. 2 sword chants appeared out of thin air, tearing the tranquility of the night. Chapter 200 Wuzun appears. A 2-headed giant python suddenly appeared between the pavilions and buildings of the imperial palace. Its thick tail swept across, tearing apart countless rare flowers and exotic rocks. Upon closer inspection, the lifelike giant python was actually made up of pure bright silver sword energy. Even with Chen Mo's eyesight, his eyes felt a slight stinging sensation after looking at it for a long time. This sword energy 2-headed python was invincible. With a swing of its giant head, it smashed the 8 soldiers who had just knocked open the revolving wooden door into pulp. The sword energy that followed circled around, gently wrapped their remains, cut them into fine dust, and scattered them with the wind. This kind of terrifying killing power is no longer something that ordinary soldiers can resist. Seeing that the giant python was about to rush out of the imperial palace, 10 soldiers and lieutenants came out of the crowd, leaning on each other, trying to work together to stop this beast. All 10 of them wore dragon armor, straightened their chests, and faced a fierce sword energy. Yin, the dragon armor glowed yellow, connecting the 10 people together and making a loud dragon roar. The sound lingered in the air, and absorbed the dragon energy that continued to emerge from the ground, forming a ferocious dragon in front of the captains, whose length was not inferior to that of the 2-headed python. 4 eyes met 2 eyes, 1 python and 1 dragon. Because of the natural repulsion between spiritual energy and dragon energy, the sword energy of sword cultivators is also a form of externalization of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. They were extremely jealous and fought against each other. Without the protection of the 2-headed evil dragon, the 2 brothers of Tanya Jianmen who stood with swords could only face the group of Wuzhu who were close at hand alone, as if they had taken the initiative to come to the door to seek close combat. The dragon armor united vertically and horizontally, transformed the energy into dragon, and restrained the invincible 2-headed python, so that there was no barrier between the weak sword cultivators and the Wuzhu captains, which was a stroke of genius. Feeling the hot blood and energy surging from the warriors on the opposite side, the twin brothers exchanged glances, knowing that it was a matter of life and death, and no longer spared their essence, biting their tongues. A mouthful of blood sprayed on their respective swords. The flying sword of the talisman, which had stimulated all the sword energy and condensed into a two-headed giant python, was originally dim, but after being nourished by the master's blood and energy, it was renewed and reflected a strange blood light. The tip of the sword once again gave birth to a 3-foot sword light, pointing directly at the layers of Wuzhu surrounding it. The elder brother took the lead and took a step forward. His right index finger gently brushed the cold sword from bottom to top, gathering the scattered blood light at the tip of the sword. Then his tongue burst into spring thunder and opened his mouth to spit out the word. The flying sword was released, and at the same time, the man was lifted off the ground under the influence of the sword. The man followed the sword, staying at the end, becoming a part of the sword force, and stabbed at the military formations set up by the Wuzhu. The younger brother was not to be outdone. He drew his sword with the same starting gesture, but used his left hand, which was different from his brother. With the same mind, he was only half a beat slower than his brother and followed closely. He became one with his sword and flew towards the Wuzhu. One in front and one behind, the two swords, in the process of flying, the sword light and the energy were intertwined. You have me, I have you, and finally merged into a longer, thicker, and sharper big sword. The two worked together to control people with swords, trying to tear the enemy formation. Ling. High-intensity internal breath force field detected, energy level 15.3, long duration, strong instantaneous explosive power, relatively dangerous. It is recommended that the host treat it with caution and do not rescue the two sword cultivators. Chen Mo noticed a figure dressed like himself, covered in a black robe. He walked with a strange pace, seemingly slow but actually fast, walked out of the Wuzhu army formation, and faced the combined sword that was unstoppable, and its power continued to increase with the increase of distance. Even though they were at a considerable distance, the chip could tell from the residual wave of fluctuations that this black-robed man was the top force of the Wu Kingdom, Wuzhen. The dragon armors of the 10 lieutenants had already dispersed their dragon energy in order to contain the two-headed giant python, but they could not stop the two sword-cultivating brothers who sacrificed their blood to the sword. Even if the sword force of the combined sword could be weakened by the sacrifice of a large number of Wuzhu, the 10 dragon armors from the Kainigan Empire on the lieutenants would surely be torn apart by the overflowing sword energy. Unwilling to part with these rare treasures that he had exchanged for a large price from the special envoy of the Kainigan Empire, this Wuzhen made up his mind. Even if he was injured, he would stop this 100-step flying sword for the Wuzhu. Those in front, quickly retreat and let Lord Qingyi come. Someone blocked the oncoming monstrous sword force, and the Wuzhu present felt the pressure on their bodies instantly lightened, cheered in surprise, and hurriedly retreated, leaving the battlefield. Many people looked at Qingyi, who was covered in black robes and had no trace of martial arts grace, with fanatical admiration in their eyes, as if they were worshipping the highest pursuit of life. Qingyi's eyes were calm, and he did not have any psychological fluctuations due to the praise of others. He slowly raised his hands, clasped them together in a cross, and held them upright in front of his chest. The empty space between his two palms was just enough to accommodate the oncoming sword of the combined sword. He actually wanted to use a pair of flesh palms to stop the practitioner's 100 steps flying sword. Sizzle, the cocky internal breath and the bright silver sword energy kept rubbing against each other, with Qingyi's hands as the center of the circle, steaming up layers of hot air, and creating a hazy atmosphere in the gap between the life and death fight. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Qingyi made a hasty move, not confident enough to catch the blade with bare hands, but used the internal breath and his dantian between his palms to constantly dissipate the sword energy of the Beibu Fujian. Wuzhen, unlike Wu Xiu, has never experienced the tempering of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and can only stop at 10.0 for life, and has not undergone qualitative changes. However, the dantian that stores the internal breath has expanded several times compared to the time when he was at the 9th level of Xianmen. It was precisely relying on the large amount of internal breath that Qingyi could barehandedly take on the combined attack of two high-level key training sword cultivators with his mortal body. The internal breath released from the dantian gushed out from the palms of Qingyi's hands, and instantly condensed into yellowish-brown ki with an energy level of up to 15.3, clamping the flying sword in his hands, unable to advance or retreat, and interrupting its rising sword momentum. Seeing this situation, the two operators behind the flying sword shrank their pupils and instantly made the decision that the essence and blood could not stop. The two sword-cultivating brothers cut their palms at the same time in tacit understanding, and put the bleeding wounds on the hilts, dyeing the blades of their natal flying swords red. The essence and blood were continuously drawn out of their hearts, and the faces of the two sword-cultivating brothers turned pale as paper. The younger brother, who was slightly weaker in cultivation, was in mid-air, trembling slightly due to physical weakness, and had already shown signs of exhaustion. However, as sword cultivators, although the two of them overdrew their essence and held on, they did not show a trace of cowardice. This is the sword cultivator cultivated by Tanya sword sect. Even if facing a rocky mountain, you must cut it with a sword, and the man and the sword will be one. The man and the sword will be there, and the man will die. Even if you know that you will be smashed to pieces, you must draw the sword, use the sword, and sacrifice the sword. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.